rolls of carpet saved in case we ever had to fix a cigarette burn or a particularly nasty stain. We usually only needed a few inches or a foot at a time. Family's room, however, had the carpet replaced more times than I could count. On this last time, my father was tired and struggled with the work. I could tell my mother did not want me to help, but they had no choice. They had already pulled up the old carpet before I was allowed in, but I still noticed it. Deep brown stains in the wood beneath the carpet just outside the bathroom. My mother was still scrubbing when I carried in the replacement roll.
Is that blood?
I asked, pointing at the frothy pink foam beneath my mother's brush. She shot my father a look of anger.
They are hunters,
he said with a dismissive wave of his hand. The dark-stained ring that always seemed to exist in the bathtub of this room suddenly started to make sense.
This is a lot of blood,
he said, hoping for more answers.
It was probably a big animal.
My father replied, annoyed. It made no sense to slaughter an animal in a motel bathroom, but I realized that I wouldn't be getting any more answers from my father. I let it be. I figured I'd ask again in 4 years. It's really funny to imagine, like, look, if they want to bleed a deer in our tub, that's their right. Mm-hmm. That's their right as tenants in this hotel.
Do you think that the main character, do you think that, like, our narrator or whatever, though, is obviously like, okay, well, these guys are like murderers, but he's just not pressing his parents on it? Or do you think he's still
I don't know if he thinks they kill people. He may just think that they do some weird thing in the motel. I feel like killing people and knowing that your parents are covering up murders is a big leap from Stains, right?
I mean, I agree.
The animal is weird, though. The idea of, like, they're hauling in deers and then bleeding them out in the motel tub is pretty intense. But, I mean, what they're actually doing is doing it to people, so I guess that's worse. But, you know.
Yeah, but even
you
still,
wouldn't jump
it's
straight
like,
to vampires.
No, I don't think it's vampires. And you're probably right, too, of being like, they're probably not thinking that it's murderers either. But it would be very hard to explain. And even just trying to be like, yeah, they kill animals. It's like, why don't you do that outside, dude?
It's like, why did they ask you to do? Are you just okay with this, Dad? Someone's getting up animals on the property.
Yeah, what of it?
You know, it's in this country, it's a man's right what he wants to do in his own bathtub with his own deer carcass.
I do think it's cool that it's a mountain town hotel to where I wonder if the vampires are going to go there because they like feeding on like lumberjacks, or if because the motel is just like continuously added, if this like long ass motel is just a buffet for guests.
Oh, that could be cool.
Yeah,
that could be sick. I love the old mountain motel setting too. It reminds me of like a Twin Peaks, Alan Wake sort of vibe. I love that.
Yeah, you can't beat the mountain town kind of like aesthetic.
No. It's a classic. Yeah, especially with supernatural stories.
Yeah, so much mystery already behind it. Also, so much isolation. You know what I mean? Like beautiful isolation.
Yeah.
Weird.
I didn't get a chance though, as both of my parents passed within months of each other. I'd like to say they died peacefully at home, same as my sister, but they did not. My father had a heart attack. While he was in the hospital, my mother had a stroke. My father died shortly after, but my mother seemed to hold on for longer than anybody thought possible. She was waiting for something, but she never revealed what it was. She died in her sleep with an immense look of sadness on her face.
Damn.
So they both wanted to become vampires too. You know, that's probably what the deal is. They let the vampires kill there, and then it's like, when it comes our family's time to die, you take them. You make them immortal, and then we'll eventually be reunited.
That's like another kind of, I guess not trope, but that's another kind of thing where humans, they'll have like human assistants, all with the hope that they become immortal. Like they will make them one of them their own, whatever.
Yeah. As we expected, they left the motel to me. The lawyer explained that the will was very brief and uncomplicated. My parents had no money saved, and the motel was their only asset, so I was given everything. They did leave me something else, though. In addition to the burden of a family business, they left 3 envelopes with very specific instructions on when to open them. The first one was to be opened when I took over ownership of the motel. The second was to be opened in case of an emergency, namely a financial one. And the third was to be opened by my aunt in case I passed away. The letter within the first envelope was brief and to the point. It explained that my parents had a long-standing agreement with the family, and it was best not to question it. They mentioned the blood, but told me to ignore it, just make sure there was no trace left after they checked out. It was very explicit that I not ask questions, and that if anybody outside of the family were to ask about the family, I was to deny everything. And something I found funny and not surprising, the family's odd trait of seemingly never aging was not mentioned in the letter. After reading it twice, I stored the letter in the cash drawer and forgot about it. Shortly after my mother passed away, the family arrived. 7 of them piled out of the same old station wagon and walked together to my office. Without my parents insisting on doing it themselves, this was my first time I'd actually checked the family in. The old man greeted me as if he knew me. He did not ask about my parents, and in an odd way, he spoke to me as if I had always been the one to check them in. All but the little girl seemed to watch me without expression. The little girl, however, broke away from the group and stepped around the desk and knocked on the door leading to our kitchen. None of the family reacted in any way to her actions.
Can I help you? Is she in there?
She asked, almost emotionless.
DistroKid is the easiest way to put out music.
You see, DistroKid makes it so easy to get your music on all of the streaming platforms.
Instagram, Apple, TikTok, Shazam.
I just don't think that we give DistroKid enough credit for what they do.
I'm getting major label services at indie artist prices.
And they never take a cut of your royalties.
Could you use up to $750? Find it at BioLife. Up to $750 is waiting for you. Just donate plasma, get paid for each donation the same day, then treat yourself and treat your friends. Schedule your appointment today.
What the hell? It's just me now. My parents passed away a few months back.
I explained as I grabbed the room key. That's got to be his little sister, right?
100%.
Forever stuck at the age of 11, which is honestly like a torment in itself, right?
Yeah, I mean,
like eternity at 11 years old. Yeah.
Interview with a Vampire always had like an interesting part of that, of like the little girl like enjoyed being a little girl for a while, but as the years roll on, it's like her mind evolves to where she's like, I'm just a child. Like it's pretty much just a prison sentence. It's, you know, it's fucked.
The older man took the key without acknowledgement of the fact that my parents were dead, but the little girl broke down. She began to sob and yell for her mother, but instead one of the teenagers took her by the arm and pulled her along as they left together. Her sad eyes met mine, and for a moment I felt an unspoken grief between us over my parents' absence. I realized it was the first time that anybody outside of myself had shown any reaction to their loss. It felt good. It made me feel less alone in this isolated little motel. I watched as the family dragged the little girl back to their room to unpack and settle in. I remembered then how my mother used to treat this little girl. She always seemed to dote on her when they would visit. After my sister's death, my mother was less than affectionate, especially to children that weren't her own. Except that is, for this little girl, came around every 4 years. Their stay was uneventful, and after that night, even the little girl all but ignored my presence. They left at night and returned before morning, usually without notice. Their rooms, again, were always tidy, except for the cigarettes. Before they checked out, I read the letter from the first envelope one more time. It had also mentioned that at checkout, they would pay in cash and leave behind a small paper package sealed with twine. The note instructed me to never open the parcel, but instead put it in a safe that I had no idea existed before reading the letter. The safe itself was filled with more small paper bundles tied with twine. I did as the letter instructed. Sure enough, after their final night, there was blood. It wasn't a lot of blood, but enough to cause concern. How much is an amount of blood to cost? I feel like any amount beyond like a drop would be a concerning amount.
Yeah, even like, yeah, basically. If it didn't look like it was like, oh, someone pricked their finger, I would definitely be like, okay, someone was bleeding in here, what the fuck?
No, it's just one splash. They just sliced open their forearm. They're probably...
Yeah, they just cut their jugular,
that's not a concern.
Fine.
It's okay. This couldn't be for more than one person, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
This is definitely 6 or 7 deer.
It looks like they had a good hunt trip, huh?
Yeah, wow, the hunting is so good around here.
Yeah, they're checking out. There's just blood all over their clothes and their mouth. It's like, y'all have a good hunting trip? Good time? Huh?
Yeah, a lot of elk out this season, huh?
Just drenched. No one acknowledges it.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, my boy.
Yeah, midway through the story, it's like they all had a distinct Transylvanian accent.
Yeah, exactly. Do not worry about it. We are fine. I love your. Are you from Wisconsin? Just like totally oblivious to everything. It's like,
Is that a Midwest accent I hear?
you know, I had a friend from Chicago. It's like, oh, we miss your parents. You're very stupid.
Yeah, they're like full blown Dracula. They're in the coats with like the count pieces and stuff.
Yeah, the widow's peak and everything too in their hair.
Yeah. The bathtub had been filled with it and then drained. Filled with blood? Whoa, that's not a concerning amount. It wasn't. He says it wasn't a lot of blood, but enough to cause concern. The bathtub had been filled with it and then drained, leaving behind a crimson film ring around it. How much? That's like dozens of people to bleed that much.
That's a forbidden pudding pack is what that is. That room would smell terrible too. Like,
the iron.
Yeah, the
like
iron
how
in the
thick
air.
that smell would be.
Yeah, if there was that much, that'd be brutal.
Hold on. What
you think
does
that's
he
also why they smoke,
consider?
maybe?
To cover up the smell. You're probably right.
Maybe.
I feel like the blood would win, but yeah, that could be a reason. What? Oh, okay. What's a concerning amount of blood to him? If like 3 dozen bodies worth of blood or 2 dozen isn't enough, because like, would it take like the Shining elevator for him to be like, I should call a manager?
Okay, this is concerning.
I should get someone else. This is getting out of hand. It's just like it's ankle deep across the whole hotel.
He has rain boots on. He's like walking through the.
Okay. People are freaking out. He has a ruler on the carpet. He's like, it's only 2 inches today. This isn't that
2
bad.
2 inches. I really only freak out at 6 or 7. So. This episode is sponsored by Ridge Wallet. Never leave home without your phone, wallet, or keys. But some of you have wallets that have seen better days. Ridge has some of the most durable and stylish wallets on the market, and each one can hold up to 12 cards plus some filthy cash. With wallet options spanning over 50 different colors, featured in aluminum, titanium, and even carbon fiber, there is something for everyone. And while these wallets can withstand damage, Ridge also protects you if your wallet gets lost. With the Ridge AirTag attachment, you always know where your wallet is, saving you from panic. But Ridge isn't just about wallets. They're also about suitcases, key cases, and rings, all with the same sleek, durable design. But whatever you choose, Ridge has free shipping for a 99-day risk-free trial and a lifetime warranty. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off Ridge while using code CREEPCAST at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use code CREEPCAST, and you're all set. That's ridge.com and use code CREEPCAST. After your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Thank you so much to Ridge for sponsoring the show. Now back to the episode.
The tiled floors were sticky, and oh my gosh, the tiled floors were sticky, and the carpet had soaked in whatever bled out of the bathroom. I replaced the carpet as my father had shown me and scrubbed the bathroom until no trace was left. Looking back, of course it seems... Of course it seems suspicious now, but it was always that way with the family. Like, well, in hindsight, knowing what I know now, it was a little weird. But it's not... At the time, who cares if they killed 16 deer? I want to take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Turtle Beach. Growing up on an Xbox 360, if you didn't have a Turtle Beach headset, then your parents didn't love you. And I'm proud to say that now, having grown up, and instead of playing on the Xbox, I play games on the PC, and I do all of my work from the same computer, it seems the more things change, the more they stay the same. That's because Turtle Beach continues to deliver high-quality sound and functionality. Their Stealth 700s have an 80-hour battery life that's perfect for podcast recordings or playing video games or live streaming. I honestly think it's way more than that because I can't remember the last time I charged these and they're still running strong. Plus, Turtle Beach's quick charge feature gets them back at 100% in a flash. The headset is also super comfortable, which is a big deal if you're like me and leave these things on for your entire workday. Or that 10-hour Tarkov/Fortnite gaming session that you call a workday.
I love Fortnite.
But one of the biggest things for me that made me switch over to the Stealth 700s after being on wired headphones for so long was the cross-play dual wireless system. Basically, instead of just using Bluetooth and worrying about what you're connected to at any time, you just plug the USB stick into the thing you want to listen to, so your PC, and you can plug the other one into something like a laptop or game console, and all you have to do is press a button on the headphones to switch from one to the other. And then on top of that, it has Bluetooth if you want to use that instead. I've never gone wrong with Turtle Beach, and I'm sure you won't either. For your next headset, head to turtlebeach.com and use code CREEPCAST for 10% off your entire order. That is right, 10% off your entire order when you use the discount code CREEPCAST. After your purchase, I'll ask where you heard about them, and if you could say us, it would help the show and mean a lot. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. Thank you all for watching the ad, and thank you to Turtle Beach for sponsoring the show. Their link will be in the description, and we are now back to the episode.
They all share the same dream, but there can only be one. Rock.
But it was always that way with the family. I couldn't really say for sure where the blood came from, and I never wanted to ask. However, if the cops showed up one day, I'd have probably told them. But nobody ever asked, and there was never anything on the news, so I just told myself the same lie. They were nothing more than a family on a hunting trip, in three-piece suits and Sunday dresses. I ran the motel without incident in the years after that, but it was not easy. I should mention that while the motel is located near a tourist spot, there's little else to attract people. In fact, we're located on what some call a dead road. Not a dead end, but a dead road. A long stretch of highway without any signs of civilization. It's one of those highways that people seem to go missing on. Ours is just one of many around the country. We once had a rider stay with us while my parents were still around. He told me that he was a true crime writer. He said that he was working on research for a book about what he called the Ring of Fire, a connection of dead roads all across the country, a giant ring of asphalt-paved death. He said that lots of famous serial killers traveled the ring. His book was going to be about connecting the dots to unclaimed victims. He told me that I shouldn't worry about it, though, because the dead are always faceless. There's always sex workers or indigenous folk or just drifters who lost their way. He explained that they're considered less dead to the cops, that their deaths don't mean as much as a politician or a pretty white girl. He said that he would come back through when he was actually writing the book. He never came back, and I never saw anything about his book coming out. It's funny to imagine this guy's just completely oblivious. Like, there's just people missing left and right, and the family has blood everywhere. He's like, oh, that's kind of strange. Anyway, I better get back to my thinking about my dead sister. Oh, hello, little girl. It's always the same age. The family, however, they always came back. 4 years after the last visit, they arrived 3 days after the date circled in red by my father long before he died. I'd actually waited for them. You see, when everything seemed to shut down last year and budgets were cut, the caves closed down for the foreseeable future. Already, tourism had waned in the last few years, and it was getting difficult to keep the motel open. I was running out of options, so I opened the second envelope. Which, let me just say, if anyone leaves me letters when they die, and they're like, open this one when this happens, open this one, this I'm reading all of them. I'm reading
Same setting that day to be thrown away in the trash. Never
burned. Just gone.
Yeah. Fire fodder for the cold winter night. Actually, it couldn't have been a hotter night. I still make a fire.
I'm gonna be like Michael Caine in The Dark Knight. Like, oh, this letter was left by like your lover, you know, confessing their feelings before they died. I'm burning it in the kitchen right now.
I saw a baby with a jewel the size of a tangerine.
Where the fuck are you talking about? The fuck are you talking about, Alfred?
Have you seen?
Shut the fuck up and do my laundry, Alfred.
Have you seen the picture of him about Bane? Okay, Bane is the scariest guy I've ever seen in my life. I think about that like once a month and just start giggling. It's such a fun. The idea of him just crying to Batman like, this guy is so scary.
Oh, he lands another strike to the body, really starting to connect on a lot of
Bane
shots
is
to
the
the
scariest guy I've ever seen in my life.
I don't think the most frightening man we've ever seen before now.
Mixes it up nicely in terms of staying heavy and also staying active.
No. Inside was another letter that instructed me to keep the motel open no matter what, even if the guests stopped coming. It then instructed me to open one of the brown paper parcels in the safe if I was ever in trouble, so I did. Beneath the paper, wrapped tightly in twine, was a bundle of money. With various bills stacked in no particular order. But one bundle alone was enough to carry me through a slow season. There were dozens of these paper bundles. Despite what the letter said, I opened them all immediately. There you go, that's the spirit. Now we're talking. The oldest ones held currency I barely recognized. It was still American, but it was long out of circulation. I'd planned to stay open long enough to collect one more bundle from these familiar strangers I know my whole life. When they arrived 3 days late, I already knew something was off, though you wouldn't have known from their usual unemotional demeanor. What I had always remembered as a family of 7 arrived as only 6. One of the teenagers, the boy, was not with them. This was not acknowledged by anyone upon check-in. The little girl stayed beside the teenage girl this time too, but her eyes were still fixed on the door to our kitchen.
We are back, and the lineup is stacked.
Where are you? I need your help. Project Odessa. I need you to stop it.
Time's coming.
Bless your hearts and hold on to your butts.
What just happened? Like, what is even happening right now?
Sophomore year,
The loaded Italian has classic flavors with an Arby's flair. It's more American Italian than Italian, just like the Pope. And people line up to see him. Arby's, we have the meats.
At this point, I had cleaned out all the other rooms except theirs. Nobody had stayed the night in weeks anyway, so I took my time with it. When the time came for them to check out, they paid in cash and handed me the brown paper parcel wrapped in twine.
I hate to say this, but your family will officially be the last guest for
I explained, trying to break the news casually. The man stared at me blankly. The little girl looked up at the teenager, but the teenage girl did not react. The man did not seem upset, nor happy about it. As always, he was emotionless. Except with a fake smile. With that, he turned to leave. The family followed after him, but the little girl pulled away from the teenager. She stood there, staring at me for a very long time. I said, pointing at her family, trying to break the awkwardness.
Do you not remember me? Of course you do. You never changed.
I could see the old man out in the parking lot as he packed up the old station wagon. I saw him notice the little girl's absence. Without any urgency, he put down the bag and came to retrieve the little girl. As he approached the office door, the little girl stepped closer to the desk. I asked, my mind racing.
You're too young.
Should never have been turned. The words were cut off by the opening of the door. The old man stood in the doorway, his gaze fixed on the little girl. Neither of them exchanged words. The little girl left, not before it could be anyone more. Okay, if you aren't here, they will leave me.
Yep.
They'll just put her in the cage because she's too young, I guess.
I think it's insinuating that they're gonna kill her.
All right, so a big knockdown for him.
Potentially, or they just leave wild vampire children out there.
Yeah, but I would assume if they're leaving her in the cave, she's probably gonna starve, right?
Yeah, if she can't find her way out, probably. Yeah. Once they left, I waited to clean the room. I counted the bundle of cash left in the paper parcel. It was enough to carry me 2 seasons. More so, along with the rest, it was enough to start a new life.
Oh God, what a hell of a
supplies. I knew what kind of mess awaited me in that bathroom. At least this time, I wouldn't have to replace the carpet. When I finally made it to the old room, it was morning. I opened the door, the rising sun cast a light across the neatly made beds and overstuffed ashtray. As I walked towards the bathroom, something on the bed caught my eye. Laid neatly on one of the seemingly unused pillows was a photograph. I put down my cleaning supplies and picked up the photo. It was torn on one side, so it was only half of the picture. It shouldn't have been shocking, but it did catch me off guard. It was a photo of the young girl, and she was holding hands with another young girl.
The climb back is going to be insane.
Yeah, but why did I think the author was a guy this entire time? There was no indication of that.
I thought it was a guy too.
I am stupid. It's like I just got hit with the whole like, is Dr. Pepper a woman thing? Like I'm like, my apologies, ma'am. It made sense since I'm sure we had known each other our whole lives. There was nothing unusual about me except for how happy I looked. Her, on the other hand, seemed somehow different. It took me a moment to register what was off about her. But when I did, I gasped. She was younger. Not much younger, she appeared now, but younger than I had seen her in decades. The photo itself was taken here at the motel, just outside of the office. I'd recognized the background, not only because it was a familiar space, but because I had seen this photo before somewhere. It clicked. I abandoned the cleaning and ran back to the office with the photo in hand. Hung above the fireplace in the office, just across from the desk, was a collection of photos my mother had curated over the years.
Interesting fight.
It was mostly my parents and I, but there was also snapshots of famous guests or old regulars. I ran my fingers over the torn edge of the photo of myself and the little girl, and I remembered one specific photo that hung over the fireplace. It was small and odd-shaped, but it was my mother's favorite because of how happy my father and her looked. It was just the two of them standing outside the office, smiling. It was taken in the same spot as the one of me and the little girl. I ripped the photo of my parents off the wall and broke the frame, too impatient to be delicate. I pulled the small old-shaped photo from the frame and confirmed my suspicion. It was cool. I held the photo of my parents up with the photo of the little girl and myself. There were 2 halves of the same photo. No, I couldn't remember her face. I knew immediately who the little girl was. I held the photo close to my nose and breathed in deep, soft lavender. She was my older sister.
Oh my lord!
I understood the deal my parents had made.
Have fun. What a great first part.
Make your browser fast. Make your browser safe. Make your browser Chrome. Choose Google Chrome for your computer.
Sound defensively, watch the shot. Oh! Huge right hand! Dude's hurt. Serve him up. Go get it.
Grammarly works where you work with integrations in over 500,000 apps and websites, allowing you to stay in the flow. I actually use Grammarly all the time to help me write emails to my team. They have pro features too, like sidebars. This allows me to highlight a section of my writing and review several options for how to improve it. This can make my long, blabbering email to my editors come in much more succinctly. I also love the send notes feature that allows me to tell Grammarly who I'm speaking to and what kind of tone I'm aiming for. These tools improve my efficiency, but also maintain my voice. Sign up and upgrade to Grammarly Pro to level up your productivity.
Man, these guys are throwing back and forth.
Oh my God, he's so strong.
That's pretty good. That's good. I also like how it doesn't, like the title mentions vampires and it doesn't beat around the bush with like, what are they? Are they creepy and stuff like that. It also doesn't take it in a hokey direction of the vampires just being like, you know, that like we have a deal with your appearance where we get to kill whatever we want and then we get.
Oh my God, the lag is crazy.
It's just, yeah.
It's all very like
they just have a deal. Yeah,
you don't have to explain. We know that kind of thing. You know, yeah. That's why I like this story does. I like the emotional tie-in of, yeah, the parcels are just filled with tons of cash, and the person's like, okay, well, I'm gonna open these immediately and just cash this in. And then now there's the emotional tie-in though of, okay, well, if I close shop now, they're gonna kill my sister, who I thought has been dead this whole time after her parents have died, which is fun because now this little vampire girl is the only family she has left.
Yeah. So now you're in like this weird like, which can you even save your sister? It's like, oh, I'll take care of my vampire little sister or big sister who's younger than me.
I don't know if you can. I don't know if you realistically think you can take care of her, but I can see people recklessly and emotionally doing a futile gesture in the hope that it is beneficial, or like you're holding on to something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think more importantly, this story has made me spark an idea to make a short story of my own called Penis Toes. Because I was thinking about it, and because listen. How scary would it be? And really follow me with this. You wake up. The knee thing got me thinking. I was like, that is creepy. What if you woke up? Actually, if any viewers out there, male and female, you wake up. You're stretching at your feet. You do like one of those nice big stretches. Ooh, maybe give yourself a Charlie horse. Ow! That shouldn't have done that. And you step out of your bed, and as you step on the floor, you notice that you feels like you have no bones in your feet or in your toes. You're like, what the fuck? You look down, and it's just different sizes penises. All some circumcised, some not, and all of your toes are just different lengths and girths of penises. And now you have to figure out why you have these weird, and like you try to walk, you have to learn how to walk again, kind of thing. That'd be kind of scary, huh? Would that be a good story? And they all pee. Like you go to the doctor and he's like, how is it possible you have all these? So then at different points of the day, you're like, fuck, I gotta pee, and then you don't know which toe's gonna come out of, or if it's gonna come out of your regular penis. Or would it be funner if you peed out of everything at the same time? Probably too fun. You probably need to make it random. You missed your body. What's wrong with you, Jake? Sorry, Rebecca. I'm just a bit sad. I have penis toes. They can't be that bad. Oh my God, Jake! Now that you know my secret, I have to strangle you. He becomes a murderer.
What is he picking? I no longer know.
The penis toe strangler strikes again this week. I pissed my pants. He's talking about his shoes. Come on, I know that got you. That's a good one. That's a good bit. I keep peeing myself. Just ruined a bunch of pair of New Balances.
Coming up next, it's a UFC light heavyweight division collision.
See, DistroKid makes it so easy to get your music on all of the streaming
Part 2. I'd made the decision to close the motel long before my sister left the photograph. The plans were in motion, and it seemed as if nothing was going to stop the sale. That is, till we arrived. I didn't bother to clean their room after the family left, too emotionally drained to take on the horrifying task. Instead, I retreated back into the house to surround myself with memories and make a meal that my mother used to make for my sister. Spaghetti and meatballs with garlic toast. It was comforting. I was cleaning up after dinner when I heard the front door open to the office. The old service bell at the front desk rang loud enough for me to hear. The vacancy sign had long been extinguished and the front door to the office had been locked after the family left. Whoever rung the bell were not welcomed in. Garlic toast. I opened the door slowly, With the what?
Good job by him here. He continues to block these shots. Seems to see them coming
Yeah,
a mile away.
garlic toast.
He sees
Yes.
him coming a
I
mile
did
away, and
pick
he's
it.
blocking, he's rolling.
Yeah,
he's slipping.
good
He's
call,
doing a great
Hunter.
job.
Good
Big
pickup.
one,
Proud of
lands
you.
over the top.
Good job.
How's he gonna follow this one?
Open the door slowly. With the kitchen knife gripped tightly in my hand.
We're closed.
The door swung open to an empty room. I moved. Said a voice from the darkest corner of the room. He looked like an animal carried in the corner, balled up and small. He was more of an unkempt shape than a person, covered in mud and grime. When he stood up, I saw how bad he looked. The dirt reached every crevice as if he were buried in it. Only the whites of his eyes stood out like black. He was thin, almost emaciated, but still had a strength about him.
I'm sorry, but we're closed.
That one was heavy.
He said, pointing up at the "You're always welcome" sign hanging just outside the window.
We don't have any clean rooms, I'm sorry. We have to find somewhere else.
I said, feeling a sudden sense of discomfort. His wide eyes met mine with a stare so intense, it felt as if he were looking
the counter!
He said. His voice was soft, yet conveying the world of emotion. It was then that I recognized him. He was the teenage boy from the family, though thinner than I remembered. His familiar young features were caked in filth, but I knew it was him. He knew that I knew. I nodded. Yeah, what is this voice you're doing right now?
What? The vampire voice. You know, dude, here I am, trying my best to give you a cool vampire voice. Pretty cool.
Watch the shot.
And then you don't even respond to my penis story the penis foot story that I think is actually kind of sick, penis toes, which I am trademarking. That is going to be something you see on Netflix. It's going to be a Mike Flanagan short series. It's going to be pretty good. But you know what? Whatever, man. I don't need your fucking approval.
Another strike to the body, really starting to connect.
I'm not.
Huge elbow there. Final seconds of round one.
He asked, his voice finally cracking. I do not know how to answer.
I show some mercy.
Sure what
I show a little bit of mercy.
He said, suddenly desperate.
I don't know.
I said, pulling the room keys from the hook.
But you're welcome to check.
Took the keys from my hands, his eyes lingering on my arm. It was as if he saw something I'd not. He said, left the office, trailing mud out the door. It wasn't until he was gone that I realized the trail of mud only led outside.
Gladly over after you take a shot like this. But this
What does
man's
that
just
mean?
too tough.
He's
Some
flying.
people say he's too tough for his own good. He would not agree
He
with
flew
you.
in?
He wants
Yeah,
to
he's
fight.
floating, or maybe he came in as a bat.
As a bat, that's right, yeah.
And they smelled the garlic bread, didn't they? Oh, that's totally stinky. Don't like that. Who did the work?
It's about done. He's got to play very fast. In the night. Yes, they hurt him in the last round. Same exact one. Oh, he's hurt bad. He's hurt bad, John.
That night, I could not sleep. I watched his room from my window and waited for him to leave, but once he closed that door, it seemed as though he disappeared inside. He never even turned on the light. Well, I left my perch long enough to make coffee, but even then I listened to him creak until heavy and never did hear it. When day came, I decided to check him. I knocked many times and announced my intent to enter. He did not respond. The door opened with that familiar old creak, and the sun once again crept into that dark room. Cigarette smoke still hung heavy in the air and danced in the beams of light. The room key said idle next to the ashtray. Okay, hold on, no, we read that wrong. It's saying that the mud only led inside, as in he walked down the hall to the room, but then never left the room. So there's no flying anywhere. He walked into the office and then to the hotel room, but then never left the hotel room. I don't think that's what was implied at all, actually. I think all the footprints led inside.
Yeah.
They just didn't leave back outside the hotel room.
Yeah, I'm saying that's all fine. I'm just gonna before getting to the hotel room,
Your line's up. It's a quote.
Another highlight for the week. The official decision is in.
Everything.
Everything.
You can Venmo this, or you can Venmo that. You can Venmo this, or you can...
Hello?
The room itself appeared empty, but I traced his muddy tracks from the door to the table, then to the bathroom. He had smoked the old butts left by the others and left nothing behind but burnt filters. The beds, again, were untouched. I knocked gently on the bathroom door.
Are you okay?
Carpet sloshed under feet, wet from the bathroom overflow.
I'm coming in.
I announced, already turning the knob. As the bathroom door turned inward, it pushed aside a layer of sticky, wet sludge. It was a mixture of deep red and earthen brown. The putrid, sweet smell of decay hit before my eyes could comprehend the horror of what lay before me. The bathtub was half filled with thick, old blood and clumps of mud left behind by the boy. His clothes were piled in a damp, muddy heap just outside the bath. The floor was sticky with blood and dirt. Still, I stepped inside. The bathtub was full enough with the gruesome sludge that something could still be hiding beneath the surface. As I had done many times before, I reached in and pulled the plug. My hand brushed against something inside and I recoiled. The bubbling gurgle of rotting body fluids oozed down the drain as I waited to see what was hidden inside. Thankfully, it was not the boy. It was the severed leg of a deer that had brushed my hand. The hoof was gnarled, cracked, and the leg itself was nothing more than coarse flesh suspended by tendons still clinging to the bone. So, is it saying that they're actually eating deer, or the deer are just a cover-up for all the blood and stuff?
I mean, I would assume that this time that they're actually eating deer. If it's a dead-end highway, I'm going to assume that there's not tons of people around to eat, yeah. But I would assume I think this time it's just deer, because he seems desperate and starving.
Yeah. The muck left behind in the empty bath was a slurry of torn organ meat and unrendered fat. The remnants of a slaughtered beast. In all my years cleaning, they had never left this kind of evidence. It was always blood, massive amounts of blood and bile, but never anything that could be drained. I assumed then this was left by the boy. I did my best to shovel the decaying bits of carcass into a plastic bag and then used old sheets and towels to sop up the puddles of putrid death that remained. I threw all of it in the burn put-out vat. I emptied an entire bucket of bleach into the bathroom just to hide the smell. Exhausted, I fell asleep on the bed, steeped the odors of death and cigarette smoke. I dreamt of my sister. For the first time, and as long as I could remember, I could see her face again. When I awoke, it was still the afternoon, but the boy had not returned. I was hungry and covered in filth. I showered in the hottest water I could stand, hoping to burn the odor from my skin. Afterwards, I made a sandwich and returned to my perch window. I left the door open to air out the room. I figured that if he had returned, we would close it, and it was open. Night came, and I wondered if he had just gone on ahead, searching for the family. I decided that I should close the door and lock it. I had taken his key with me after I'd cleaned, so if he wanted back in, he'd have to ask. The moment my foot stepped past the threshold of the room, I saw his wide eyes shrouded in the shadows across the room. He was standing just outside the open bathroom. He stood there, motionless and blue, covered in something else. It wasn't the dirt like before, but a deep red crust, cracked dry on the skin.
Let's see if his opponent can survive.
I cannot believe he is still
Except
standing
for the shadows.
after taking that break.
He waited an eternity to answer. He was staring at me from across the room.
I don't. Is my sister, is she like you?
He nodded in a way that seemed he was confused that I was even asking.
That's awesome. Are you fucking dumb? Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's like, yeah, your sister dies, quote unquote, and then she's there every 4 years for like the past several decades.
It's pretty funny. He's just like, dude, are you serious? It's been like 30 years and she has not changed. Are you fucking dense? Oh my god, is my sister like you guys?
Really timing his shots.
Are you fucking me right now?
at finding the range with relative ease.
Because of the accent, now it just sounds like one of those like Slavic gangster types in the Adidas.
Yeah, but see, that kind of tracks like a Sylvanian kind of vampire family, right?
Yeah, I guess.
It would be too weird
like,
if they
chain smoking like Russian cigarettes in an Adidas.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me. Well, no, luckily I would agree with the Adidas tracksuit, but they've said too many times that they're dressed up all fancy, which maybe for Russian people the Adidas tracksuit is fancy. So
that could be the fit. That could be the three-piece.
That makes so sick. Adidas tracksuit on. He's like, I seriously want to drink tons of blood right now.
With the imported gold chains.
Exactly. Imported gold chains, he's just like, yeah, exactly. I want to go to an EDM music festival immediately.
Big shots exchanged in the pocket there. Now he touches it with the left.
Internet's been written exclusively by men.
Good series of punches by him there. He has been busy throughout.
He's doing a great job with the hands. He looks like a professional boxer out there.
How good is that right
to
hand?
change the rules.
Nice job by Dustin Poirier there. Sticks the target and then moves his head off the center line.
Fight for what we've built.
That beautiful straight left that he goes over and over.
Well, body language is a great indicator, and that is one confident man right there.
Will heaven be boring at all?
I love this question because the answer is simple. God is not boring. Jesus is not boring. And here's the one most people have a hard time with. When you get there, you won't be boring either because you're going to get changed on the way
Even if you were boring here, huh?
And that's just going to take some work for some people. You and I both know. But when you get to heaven, you will be full of joy and excitement. And the Bible says, in the presence of God are pleasures forevermore. God created everything that's exciting in this world.
Good stick. Ooh, head kick lands. He's hurt.
Blocks the shot.
Hey, I'm in New York City, in Times Square, with a wonderful friend. I have to tell you something about my friend. He's a football guy who loves Jesus. I'm a pastor who loves football. So we have...
I stepped backwards out of the room. He stepped forward into the faint moonlight shining across the floor. His body was covered in dry blood and his hair was matted in thick black tangle. His eyes grew wide as he approached. Before he stopped suddenly, his coolest features were suddenly awash in headlights. He recoiled and retreated back into the shadows of the room. I turned to see the blinding beams of an old pickup truck as it pulled into our parking lot. I glanced back at the boy. He was gone. The door to the truck opened and a tall, sinewy man with his nose propped in and thick rimmed glasses stepped out. He was an older gentleman, gray around the temples, but not elderly by any means. His stature was intimidating and his voice was deep.
Van Helsing.
Hello, he said, still hiding behind the bright lights of the truck.
Can I help you?
I asked, shielding my eyes.
Sorry.
He apologized and leaned back into the cab and turned off the lights. I felt myself trapped between the monster behind me and the stranger approaching from the front. Without realizing, I backed myself against the wall.
You work here?
He asked, noting my retreat and stepping back himself.
No vacancies. No vacancies.
I shouted, slightly louder than needed. He looked around the lot and squinted at the darkened motel sign.
We're close now. I'm sorry.
I'd like to stay the night if possible. It's been a bit of a drive, and we both know there ain't any options anywhere close.
We don't have any rooms available.
Well, you didn't see a lot of the body work from him in the earlier rounds, but he's certainly
pointing behind me to the open
Big
door.
shot to the body connects there. We'll see if he can follow
It
it
isn't
up.
clean.
Big punch land.
He said, closing the door to his truck.
I can pay you cash if you fancy it.
I shook my head, leaned one hand on the truck.
None of the rooms are furnished. This one was. The animal got in and died. Was cleaning it. It wouldn't be sanitary.
He stepped forward into the lights of the motel. His face was hard, serious, and altogether unsettling. I couldn't help but think back to that rider, about what he said. This man could be one of them, I thought. Here I was with my back to the danger I could not comprehend, while in front of me stood a potential serial killer. Must have read the discomfort on my face.
Okay then. You mind if I park here for a night? Sleep in the truck?
Yeah, I was trying to sound disarming. I thought about it long and hard. I said against my better judgment. He smiled and opened the door to his truck.
Appreciate it.
So 92
He said
total
disappointed.
strikes have now landed for Khabib.
Turned back towards the room, but even with the light from the truck, I could not see inside. I closed the door and locked it. After that, I locked every door I walked through until I was in my own bedroom. Still uneasy about the two threats that were sleeping only a few hundred feet away, I decided to arm myself. I don't like guns, never owned one, and I don't care to ever buy one. But my father taught me how to shoot. In fact, he taught me to shoot with my grandfather's old revolver, the same one that was locked in a box beneath my bed. It's my father's lockbox, and aside from the gun, I had no idea what I'd find. I'd use a hammer, an old screwdriver to break the lock, and after only a few attempts, I was able to pop it open. As expected, the gun sat atop a pile of important documents, photos, and small mementos that meant something to my father at some point in his life. 6 loose bullets rattled around the steel box. They appeared to be handmade, not purchased, and somehow older than myself, each one tipped in shiny, polished silver. I loaded the revolver and set it aside. Photos hidden beneath it were not ones I'd recognized from my childhood. They were all, for some reason, private to me.
Let's go!
The photograph was of my parents, years before I was born. My aunt that I hadn't seen in years stood next to my mother, smiling and holding the hand of a man in his early 30s. The man looked eerily familiar. He reminded me, maybe, too much of the middle-aged man in the family. The man in the photo looked too happy to be the expressionless shell I'd known my whole life. Photo beneath that one was of my grandfather standing stone-faced in front of the earliest version of the motel. Beside him, 4 others, and without a doubt 4 members of the family. None of them, my grandfather included, were smiling. To the right of my grandfather stood the older 2 members of the family, then the middle-aged woman and the teenage girl. The boy and the middle-aged men were missing. The photo was old and faded, but even then it was clear they looked the same as they did only a few days ago. So, the middle-aged man was her uncle then, right? Because it's like, oh shoot, he was holding hands with my aunt. But who would the teenage boy be then? Just an unrelated boy or someone connected to them, I guess?
I think that we might find out more through the other parts, but it almost seems as if with the silver... Not vampire hunters, but I'm wondering if that's the case also why the mom and... Like, it almost makes you think that they were, like, purging the mountain of these evils or something like that. And that's, like, maybe, like, why the aunt and the mom had a falling out, because she's like, you're just letting them stay there and do shit, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Beneath that, I found my sister's birth certificate. Old bonds, the deed to the motel, and other uninteresting documents of worth. Below everything, though, was one more thing. A stiff card wrapped in the same paper the family's money was wrapped in, tied with the same twine. I opened it. I unwrapped it to reveal the backside of a photograph, newer than the others, with Chicago 1974 written in a handwriting that was foreign to me. It was not my mother's or father's. I flipped the photo and I felt a cold chill run down my spine. I saw myself, younger than I had ever seen in any family photo. I was dressed in a corduroy overalls and standing in front of an old building. The oddest thing, though, was that I was standing between 2 vaguely familiar adults, holding their hands. All 3 of us were smiling. Wish I could say I was able to place their faces, but I could not. I had to assume they were family friends, but to my knowledge, my parents never had many friends, and those that did be the ones to visit us. My entire life, my parents made the motel the priority. We had never taken a family trip together outside of a holiday weekend at my aunt's. In fact, as far as I could recall, neither of them had ever mentioned visiting Chicago, and they definitely never said anything about seeing friends there. Who were these people? Where were my parents?
All right, coming up next, it's
Why wasn't my sister with me? My breath grew more rapid with each thought, and I slammed the box shut. I already had too many questions that seemed to be impossible to answer. I was not ready for more. Thankfully, the exhaustion overwhelmed my mind, and I eventually drifted off to sleep. The loaded gun sat safely on the nightstand next to me. I had even pushed a chair beneath the knob of my bedroom door. The heavy curtains pulled closed, the sun never crept in, and I awoke very late in the morning. Even before coffee, I made my way out to the parking lot. The truck, however, was already gone. I started to feel a tinge of guilt for judging the strange man as I did. That guilt, though, would only deepen as the day progressed. I opened the door to the boys' room. The morning sun flooded in immediately, casting away any dark corners. Immediately, the smell of iron struck my nose. As I stepped up to the bathroom door, my feet once again squished into the soaking wet carpet. The door was unlocked, and as I opened it, I heard the familiar slosh of coagulated blood being pushed aside. I stepped into a familiar, no less unsettling sight. A tiled white bathroom covered in
I can't stay up.
Back to the feet. Missed with that attempt.
Dreams don't just come true. You gotta fight to bring them into the world. Here's the Black Rabbit.
One of the best jabs in the world across all combat sports. The way that it just comes out, it's beautiful. The backside hit always at the chin.
Brother,
The elbows
what'd you
under the
do?
ribs. The jab.
You wanna get on that?
Back to the feet.
I prayed to myself that it was again.
Yeah, I should have known.
Even that did not set well with my conscience. Just to be safe, I decided to clean. I needed to be sure that no trace of the teenage boy was left behind, just in case somebody else came to unexpected. The strange man now made me nervous in an entirely different way. I was so focused that I forgot to make myself coffee. Instead, I went straight to work sopping up massive amounts of blood. It was only when I was on the floor scrubbing that I noticed some of the blood seep through seams in the tiled floor. Narrow cracks and 3 straight lines forming a box against the wall.
Damn,
I then noticed
so
that the
points,
baseboard
that's
beneath the
crazy.
sink had been removed and there were small finger-sized holes in the floor where it met the wall. Crawled across the floor, still slick with blood, and slipped my fingers in. I was able to get underneath and pull up what turned out to be a door or hatch in the floor. So I pulled it open, blood seeped down into the crawl space beneath the bathroom. Crawl space that until now, I had no idea even existed. I had no choice but to investigate. It was not large, but deep enough to walk through without crawling. It spread maybe 10 feet in every direction. It was dark, but my phone's flashlight was bright enough to reveal even the furthest corner. Thankfully, the boy was nowhere to be seen. The floor beneath me was soft dirt, made muddy from the blood that seeped down. The walls appeared to be crafted from old red brick and mortared in place, unlike any other foundation on the property. Words written in an unfamiliar language were carved into the walls. It smelled of smoke, stale breath, and iron. I moved further in to explore the hidden room. Strange crystalline rocks were scattered, half buried around the floor, much like the ones you'd find in the now closed caverns. The most unsettling aspect, though, was the heaps of soft dirt that were arranged in 7 large piles throughout the room, one for each member of the family. Immediately, the room itself felt heavy with dread. I got out as quickly as possible. I left the crawl space as I had found it and replaced the baseboard, just in case. I finished cleaning the bathroom and doused everything in bleach, careful to avoid the cracks in the floor. When I returned to the office, there was a message flashing in red on the office phone. I checked, and it was from my lawyer, so I returned the call. He informed me that the buyer from the property was expected to stop by. I was told he wanted to see it firsthand, but he was an odd fellow and may not announce his intentions. I could only assume it was the man from last night. He then changed the subject with a somber tone in his voice. He asked me if I heard from anyone in my family. I told him, aside from my aunt, I had no family left.
I'm wondering how, if his first shot doesn't work, does he approach trying to get this fight to the ground?
DC didn't take him long to find his range here tonight, huh?
His timing is
First,
on
had a little
point.
trouble getting in touch with me.
Big, powerful punch lands. Now he gets back
Business
to
is
range.
gone?
I asked because she, like my parents, owned a small hospitality business. While it wasn't a motel, It was what you would consider a bed and breakfast. Honestly, it was less of a business, more of a hobby for me.
Everything.
A small part of me was relieved that I wouldn't be burned with that place as well. There was a moment of awkward silence, and I could hear him shuffling through papers on his end of the line.
Oh, nice right hand, John. We're going to take care of the transfers.
Nice left hook there from Volkanovski.
Other than the property, I don't know what else I want with this. Hell, even the property, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want to deal with it. This place is enough.
He didn't laugh. Instead, I just heard more shuffling.
Good series of punches by him there. He has been busy throughout.
He's doing a great job with the hands. He looks like a professional boxer out there.
So 31 total strikes have landed for Alexander Volkanovski.
How old was her will?
She updated it.
Well, he misses with the left punch there.
But I guess now would be the time to open the envelope. They left for
nice check on the right kick off right there.
Okay, I'll do that.
Conversation shifted into other aspects of the cell, and what I would need to do to prepare for it. All the while, the man from last night was in the back of my mind. In an unexpected turn of events, I was hoping he would return. After the call, I tried to push it all out of my mind. The boy was gone, and as far as I knew, the man had left in the morning. I was alone, high in the mountains in this isolated town. I wasn't hungry, but I fixed myself a drink and decided to take my lawyer's advice. I retrieved the third letter left by my parents from the cabinet, where it had stayed since the day he dropped it off.
I rely on Grammarly heavily in my day-to-day life. It helps make my own writing stronger because when I see the same errors pop up again and again, I know to watch for it myself before Grammarly even touches it. Some of the generative options, like the improve your impact, are really helpful. Grammarly offers ideas for how to make it more relatable to the audience or how to strengthen the emotional impact of the content. Grammarly is definitely an essential tool that I rely on more and more, especially as new features are added that become helpful with generating content or new ideas. Grammarly helps me with every part of the writing process.
Just knock me out, bro. Just knock me out, bro. Why are you running the whole fight? Why are you doing that? Holy.
Courtesy of that punch in that round. DC, here's a replay.
It's not too late to outgrow the family hairline. Through him, you can break the cycle and get the thicker, fuller hair of your dreams. Genetics started it, but our range of personalized treatments can help you get ahead of it. Stop hair loss and regrow your hair in just 3 to 6 months with clinically proven ingredients like finasteride and minoxidil. See why 79% of customers say they wish they started treatment their hair is growing. Take control of your own hair destiny. Start today at hims.com.
Some good shots tonight, but there's no three-piece, there's no soap. That's as good a punch as he's thrown.
Carefully, I tore open one end, even folded. I could see through the thin parchment that the message was brief, but it was undeniably written in my mother's handwriting. It said, I fear they are no longer the ones we loved. Burn it down. Burn it all down. That's good. Okay, I really like this story because, like I said earlier, it doesn't play around the vampire concept. It dives into it. And the way they build mystery isn't on are they vampires or anything. It's everything else, like the secret crawl space under the floor. What are the 7 mounds in the ancient writing? What was the aunt's connection? Why did she decide to burn everything down? Is it because the family turned on them now? Has all this been caused because our main character decided to sell the hotel? The guy who showed up last night, was he the seller or was he like a vampire hunter, Van Helsing, like you said? It doesn't ask questions around the nature of what they are because we know what they are. It asks questions around the greater story that it uses them as a set piece, which is really cool. It keeps it engaging.
Well, I think this is just a classic example of the thing that is making the story interesting is not the idea that it's vampires. Vampires are just it's just the exciting, like syrupy cherry, the chocolate sauce and the cherry on top of the sundae. But like the actual meat of the story that is engaging is this family's mystery. Like very interesting characters. Our main character kind of stumbling and finding into like new things about this family. And then having to unravel all these like secrets that they had no idea about. That's like that's what makes it engaging. And then it's just a huge bonus that there's a fucking naked man standing in a corner covered in blood,
you don't have to talk
you know,
to
that kind of thing. That's just the thing that makes it exciting. But I think like the character building itself, that's what's making this so compelling. And I think that's also just a good example of like why the story works so well, and like just for any people who are maybe want to write their own stuff, characters are always the most important thing. Yeah, and the ideas of that, like the vampire shit, who gives a fuck? Like really, like it's just like you can go any direction with it, and it wouldn't matter if your characters suck. You know what I mean?
I mean, they're a tool, and they can be used effectively or ineffectively, and they're used effectively here, but it's because they're not. The story is not about the fact that they are vampires. It is about a character that so happens to be here with vampires.
The dressing, the set dressing of your story is vampires, but the foundation of story is the mystery, and it's like this is being the fun of being able to unravel these mysteries with your character that is just becoming more and more fun as it goes on. Like I really also, I just want to say too, because we didn't say anything at that break, but I was really kind of sucked into the story at that moment. But imagine walking in, you just see the pale eyes in the corner, and the guy's just naked, like emaciated and naked. That's pretty fucking horrifying.
Covered in blood. Yeah. No, it gets so good. Like I was a little creeped out when she's in the crawl space and there's like writing and the mounds. It's like, what's down there? What have they buried? That's good. That's good. Like visual horror. I like it. And there's a lot of questions. Like, what's with the Chicago thing? Is she someone else's kid that the vampires brought here? Like, she can't be a vampire because she's aging. But how connected does this go? It like. Again, it has mysteries, and they're ones that I care about, not ones that are... In the first part, I had a little bit of worry, where our main character kind of took a while to figure out what they were, but the worry's immediately been put to the side with how many good questions there are coming up. So I'm bought in. I'm loving it so far.
I'm thinking some kind of family in a city who met a vampire who got fucked up. I know before I was like, oh, maybe they're vampire hunters. I think it just might have been people who got in bed with a vampire at one point. And it seems like from the deal of you used to live in a very civilized, you know, suburban setting, and now you're in the middle of nowhere. Definitely seems like they're hiding from the rest of the world up in the mountains versus being a space where they're maybe constantly tempted. Who knows?
Could be. Okay, so part 3. Before we get into part 3, I realize that y'all can see it. Yes, I am wearing a My Little Pony shirt, but it's ironic.
Sure.
YouTube. After the Cupcakes episode, so many of you messaged a gun company called Polidar Tactical, who had My Little Pony merch that said My Little Pew Pew, that they messaged me and were like, hey, so a bunch of our fans, or a bunch of people have said that you would really like this My Little Pony shirt. So I had to go into this long diatribe back. It's not because I'm a brony. It's because my fans think it's funny. People that watch Creepcast. It's this podcast where I read scary stories, and they didn't believe anything I said, but they sent me the shirt anyway. So thank you for that. So thank you guys for doing that, I guess, whatever.
I also had as a video recently too. Basically this like how would you say this bank? Like a treasury of some sort of money because of penis toes. The fans kind of contacted them about that. We just want to give you a bunch of money because of it.
Part 3.
Throwing that jab now again. The fighter
burn it all down. Those words rung clear in my head as if my mother were whispering in my ear. Trust me, I wanted nothing more than to be done with this motel and family. But there were some things I just couldn't let go. I started to worry that if I sold the motel, other secrets could be revealed. Dark secrets, damaging secrets. I could fill in that pit below their room, but what else was hiding in the motel grounds? I had no choice but to wait for the sale to either go through or fail. In the meantime, I packed up what I could from our old family home. Every photograph of my parents now felt different, less genuine.
Do you think that like less genuine? Do you think that the main character is starting to question, like, you know what I mean? Like, do you think that she is basically being like, was my family fucking monsters? Like, is she starting to be like, my family corrupt?
I don't think her family were vampires, but I think she is questioning like why they hid so much, and also were they, like, is this even her family? Like, was the people in Chicago her actual parents or something? I mean, she doesn't know. There are so many mysteries that are strung out in front of her she doesn't have answers to.
Factor is totally overhauled how I think about eating clean. It's a game changer. Developed by dietitians and prepared by chefs, so they're actually good. And they're ready in just minutes. These meals, protein shakes, and juices are exactly what I need to support my active lifestyle without having to take the time to meal prep. Sign up right now and get 50% off your first box.
Yeah, I should have known. Wow.
Your path to exclusive Braves perks starts with joining the Atlanta Braves season ticket wait list. A-list members get special treatment like taking photos on the field after the game, guaranteed bobbleheads, a dedicated member entrance, and a VIP area for kids to watch the players take batting practice before the game. Membership for the 2026 season will be offered in waitlist order, so the sooner you join, the better your shot at locking in the best experience in baseball. And it's free to sign up. Go to Braves.com/waitlist and join today.
Why would they keep so much from me?
I asked out loud to a room of family artifacts and meaningless mementos. Nobody answered. 2 days passed, and I waited for either the boy or the man in the truck to return. Instead, first car to pull into the parking lot was that of my local sheriff. My body tensed and my mind went to the room and the blood-soaked carpet that I never replaced. I questioned whether or not I'd actually be honest if he asked about it. Yes, of course I would be. I had nothing to hide. I knew nothing. Nothing except for the fact that I'd rented rooms to soulless immortal creatures that somehow acquired gallons upon gallons of blood without notice. I began to doubt my own composure. I waited at the door to the office while he sat in the cruiser for 10 minutes or so. I wasn't sure if he saw me or not, but regardless, I held my ground. I noticed a little too late my cleaning supplies abandoned in the lobby next to gallons of bleach. The cruiser door slammed shut and snapped my attention back to him. As he approached, he scanned the surroundings, taking note of the unlit vacancy sign, turned back and registered the curtainless windows, each empty room. This is, of course, except for the families. He said with the tip of his hat.
What can I do you for?
He removed the shades and peeked over my shoulder into the lobby.
Wondering if I could have a moment of your time to ask you some questions. Regarding... Well...
Turned back to the mostly empty rooms.
You have any guests recently? Closed down a few weeks back, unfortunately. That's not what I asked.
He said, smiling again, this time, minutes.
Sorry? I don't mean to be rude or nothing, but we know Bill Henley was on his way up here a few days back. Just wondering if he made it. Sorry, I don't know. You don't know the man who was fixing on buying your place?
He asked again, looking back at the family's room.
Oh, him! Yeah, him. My lawyer handled it all. I didn't meet him. Not even when we stopped here for the night.
He asked, showing his cards. I swallowed hard. I wanted to tell the truth, but I wasn't ready for what came with it.
Oh, did he drive a truck? He did. And yes, I saw it, parked over there.
He said, Fullerton pointing towards the room. The sheriff turned to the room, the parking spot, my secrets, took out a notepad and began to write something down.
But he didn't stay with us. We were close, so he slept in his car, I think.
Yes, looking back at me.
I didn't see him leave, but yeah, he was here for a little bit, you know, the truck belonged to him, right? It did.
He said, putting the notebook away.
Mind if I take a look around?
Of course not. I said, the words tumbling out of my mouth before my mind could stop them. Stepped aside to sort of lead him into the lobby, away from the family's room. Immediately, he took notice of the cleaning supplies and the bleach.
Is there a problem? Is he okay?
She was being the most suspicious person ever.
No shit.
Oh, him? No, I don't know him. Oh, that guy? He was here, actually. He was right over there. You can look around. Is he okay? Is he alive?
He didn't die, did he? Did he get bit on his neck?
Did he get bit on his neck? Did you find him drained of blood? Like the blood in that room over there? Don't look in there, by the way.
Yeah, there's definitely not a giant cavern with old Eldritch text written in Elvish on the walls. Just don't look in there. It's
wow.
Any horrors that are in that room are certainly comprehensible, so you shouldn't even try to comprehend them. The sheriff's gaze lingered on the bleach for a very long time. He then turned his attention back to me. I could see his mind working over something, thinking. Suddenly, it felt as if the air in the room shifted. His entire demeanor changed, and I felt an aura of warmth from him. He shrugged and cracked a smile.
Well, I figured it's going to be on the news soon anyway, if it ain't already. What? No, nothing good, that's for sure. The truck you saw, they found it about 200 or so miles west of here.
Crazy, bro.
Off the 80? All the way up there? What was he doing? Well,
I guess it's a skill diff. I guess I'm...
We don't know where he was.
Yes,
we don't know who he is. Or, we don't know where he is? Oh, yeah.
We don't know who he is. We don't know what's going on.
I was like, what the fuck? Well, we don't know. Well, we don't know.
The sheriff has intense memory loss. Who are you? Who am I? What are we doing here?
Well, we don't know. We don't know where he is.
He said, his gaze drifting now to the knickknacks of photographs.
Oh, that's not good. I don't like that. You really ain't gonna like the next pod. The bio of yours has a lot to answer for. Like what? Well, the body they found in the cab, burnt to a crisp, abandoned.
I don't like that. This guy, the man that was outside of my hotel, that I was the last one to see him alive, who's super suspicious, and his truck was found 200 miles away. Don't like that. It's funny. He said, picking up a photograph of myself and my parents.
I thought you said he was missing. You sure it wasn't him?
I asked, trying to find something to do with my fidgeting hands.
Too young, too small to be him.
Break free with the new Opera GX, a browser that puts you in control with a brand new design that frees up even more pixels for personalization and an inventory of features to up your game at every level. Like GX Control to help rein in your resources with integrated limiters for RAM, CPU, and network. A sidebar for direct access to your favorite side quests, streams, and posts. And built-in privacy tools like ad and tracker blockers and free no-log VPN. Check into GX Corner for the latest news, deals, and free games. But what really makes our different is mods, giving you the power to change everything from animated wallpapers to themes, sounds, music, and shaders, so you can change everything. Get Opera GX.
Big, powerful punch lands. Now he gets back to range.
Oh, nice move, body, very nice.
Google Workspace can help keep your documents and emails safe. Built on top of Google's secure and reliable infrastructure, AI defenses help protect against threats like phishing and viruses. That's data security made easy with Google Workspace.
Best we can reckon, it's a young man they found. No idea.
What the fuck is going on?
Sad looking hard at the photo.
These your parents?
I nodded. Looked back at the photo and back at me.
Biological? I'm told I look more like my grandparents, really.
Smiled and returned the photo. I believe he then looked for photos of my grandparents, but there were none. Okay, so she's off of that. She's clearly adopted.
Was that the vampire team that was in the room?
What is happening in this game right now?
It
What is
brought out
this?
into
This is not real. This is not
So I had this thought with the cigarettes that maybe earlier with the ash, I'm like, maybe that's like dead vampires or something like burnt ash. But then they said that there were actual cigarette butts being smoked. So you're probably right, that was just to mask the smell. Yeah, they do look changed. But so I thought that what was the point with the extra blood
I can't wait for this
he
to
had been
stop
killed.
being
A vampire hunter.
I'm not doing anything.
Which maybe he has.
I'm not good enough to. I'm not good enough to be in this
boy
weight class to fight people.
stole his truck and started trying to drive away, trying to find the family. And then when daylight hit, he burnt to ash.
No,
Wait, what direction did they say he was driving?
That's insane work.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the fuck I'm just not good. I'm just not good enough.
Hunter dude
I'm about to go on a goddamn win streak. I swear to Jesus Christ, I'm about to start just fucking these people up.
Yeah, well, it said he was driving west, right? So that would have been driving away from the sunrise.
I'm tired of losing. Fuck it.
Perhaps the boy stole the... I mean, maybe the vampire hunter's still alive. But perhaps the boy stole the car and then started driving west, trying to find the family, trying to get away. And then when sunrise hit, burned him to ash in the cab. That'll explain why he's not around. Because if he is a vampire hunter and he kidnapped the boy, why would he drive 200 miles away and then abandon his car and leave him in the cab? He would probably do it in a more, you know... He's done this before. He would cover his tracks better.
All right, coming up
next, well, I mean, from what we know, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. If that's my bear trap I'm setting. If it's the boy drove the car and started driving west to get away from the sunrise, if that turns out to be right, I'm gonna hee-haw about how cool I am for calling it, but it could also be wrong. We stood there trapped in the long, awkward silence. I motioned towards the kitchen door behind the front desk. Ash trying to lead him.
Maybe later. Just need to confirm he was here.
He said, making his way back outside. I followed.
Okay, well, thank you for stopping by.
He paused at the door, acknowledging my awkward statement. Then I saw it again, his mind working. Put his sunglasses back on.
He was alone here, you said?
I thought hard. What did I tell him? Did I slip? Couldn't remember.
I don't know.
He was awful at this. He looked at me as if he could tell I was lying.
Could have been someone else in the truck. Just can't say for sure.
He nodded in acceptance.
Thank you for your time.
With that, he was gone. But as he drove by, the only remaining curtain still hanging in the motel rooms made a point to slow and look as he passed. I waited until he's going to go back to the station and be like, all right, well, whatever happened, that girl's in on it.
So, yeah, we have a murderer right in the hotel.
We got to get rid of her. I waited until he was out of sight and then ran back home as fast as I could. As soon as I reached the bathroom, I vomited. My nerves were a tangle of anxiety and guilt. I knew that the body they found had to belong to the teenage boy, but what about the man? He was either still alive or still here. I searched the motel grounds for any sign of the man, or other secret spots. I wandered past the property line into the clearing, and with the sunlight beating down on me, I had an epiphany. The teenage boy was on his way to another place like ours, sanctuary. He would never have let himself get caught outside like that, all on purpose, in all my years of knowing the family. I had never seen them at any time close to dawn or dusk.
Even though I get my ass fucking beat to death in this game sometimes, I ain't never gonna quit.
I knew what I had to do. I had to find their next stop. I had to know if it was anything like the motel, and if it was, how? Why? Would there be more of those earthen rooms cluttered with crystals and soft dirt covered in strangely written runes? I had to know. I packed what I could into my small car and locked up the motel. Before I left, I made sure to reload my grandfather's gun and place it in my bag, which I then placed on the passenger seat. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I was fairly certain that if I found anything, I had to be ready. The drive was long, but I drove slowly. Kept an eye out for any building or structure that could hide them.
One thing that I've always struggled with, one thing I am super guilty of, is using run-on sentences. You may know them from their spelling and grammar features, but trust me, there's so much more to it than that. With Grammarly Pro, I'm able to highlight a section of text and a feature will pop up that lets me rewrite full sentences for clarity, which helps make my message more clear and effective with just one click. And I also really love their setting goals feature. This tool customizes my writing suggestions so that regardless of who I'm talking to, the suggestions fit the context of my voice based on the goals that I set. You can set the formality, the tone, and even your profession. Oftentimes I'm juggling multiple conversations at once, whether I'm responding to people over email or I'm talking to my husband, my team, my managers, and so it's been so helpful to have Grammarly Pro to help me adjust based.
Luckily, the highway was an extension of the one that the motel sat on. It was another dead road, a long stretch of nothing, so spotting anything would be easy. As I passed the 200-mile marker, I slowed to a crawl and leaned over my steering wheel. An old barn crept into view around the 2:20 mark, and I knew it had to be there. It was the only building within miles. I pulled into the old dirt road alongside deep tire tracks left, and the rain softened it into mud. I stepped out of the car and pocketed the revolver. The sky overhead was gray, made for a dark afternoon. I followed the tracks as they led into the old rotted barn. Heavy doors were in despair, but the hinges swung as if they were new. Inside the barn was what you would expect from an antique structure. Old brittle hay and rusted equipment left and forgotten. Everything looked as if it hadn't been touched in decades. Everything except for a strange metal watering trough in the center of the barn. The sickening realization of what it was had set in before I saw the familiar dark rings around the inside. Like the bath in their room, this had been filled with blood. The ground surrounding the trough was stained from decades of crimson ichor seeping into it. As I stepped close, the ground bowed beneath my feet and the wood groaned. I stopped, a hollow echo of an empty chamber heard below. I kicked aside the dust and hay to reveal the trapdoor. There was less effort put into hiding this one. Then again, the location itself was a hiding spot. Found the finger holes and pulled up the door. That familiar scent of smoke, stale breath, and iron wafted up. I pulled a revolver from my pocket and climbed down. The room was smaller than the one below the motel, but it was very much the same. Odd words were again carved into the walls, but wood replaced brick in this more ramshackle construction. Strange crystalline rocks placed around the room in a pattern I hadn't noticed at the motel. There were fewer here, but enough to catch my eye. I pulled one out of the dirt and held it in my hand. Soft dusted salt seemed to rub off at the slightest touch. It was heavy in my hand, more than you would expect. I held it into the light from my phone. A dark red, blue mineral vein streaking through the otherwise milky white crystal. It was so dry, it felt as if it sucked the moisture from my fingertips. I pocketed it, continued on into the darkness. My foot sunk into an exceptionally soft patch of dirt. I realized I was standing on one of the earthen mounds, same as the 7 in the motel chamber. One, however, was unlike the rest. The dirt was discolored and more dry than the other mounds. There was also a fleck of white protruding just beneath the gray, unfertile soil. Hunched over, I made my way to the dying mound and uncovered a note written on a white piece of paper. A white piece of paper that just so happened to be stationary from our motel. It read,
Father, if you have found your way here, I'm sorry. I waited for 3 days. The fire burned so hot. And I asked if you could not return. I begged her to wait. The soul blew down, but we had to move on. If you've made it here, you know about the orphan. Our oldest one was in danger. In my slumber, I still feel your presence. So I have hope you will find us soon. Hopefully so. This will have left you and me on the old farmhouse far from the road. I hope that gives you the strength to find us again. Matthew.
I left the note where it laid. So, the father then is the teenage boy, I'm guessing?
I think it's the father of one of the other people. I think that the oldest person there is probably not related to any of them. Is what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? It's like the head vampire, it's the master, or whatever.
Yeah, but the teenage boy was the one separated from the group, right?
Pick 6 for $19.99, a perfect meal for two.
I've got a rhyme.
How about munching on Pick 6, my mouth going yap yap. People always staring at my wings, they go flap flap. Dave is so surprised because he didn't know I'd rap. Pick 6 meal for 2 for $19.99.
I'm Lady Lincoln, and this is The Spark.
Big leg kick land. Watch knees to the body.
An honor to be here with the legendary Big Daddy Kane, a true scholar of the art form as we know hip-hop to be.
Big fan of yours. Thank you for having me. So when did you actually hit your fall?
Initially in childhood, I thought it would be medicine, and so I committed to it thoroughly. Saw doctors, shadow doctors, wanted to be under them, wanted to do what they did. But you don't realize spark until you actually encounter it. My actual spark hit after my master's program. Been writing poetry since I was like 11. It's always been an outlet, always been an escape from my own realities. I was rapping in a car, and I posted it online, and I had 9,500 followers, and it went 8.7 million views viral. That was the moment where I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This was my real spark. That was the ignition.
what does DC mean to you?
I never seen black representation like I saw at Howard. Getting to DC made me feel like it was tangible. Like, Howard graduated top doctors, PhDs, entertainment moguls, lawyers.
So it gave you, I guess, a better connection with the culture and showed you the more powerful thing that black figures would do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, where we're at then, what does the space mean?
Howard Theater, I think the symbolism in it that's so powerful is what's for you is always going to be for you. I worked here, and more specifically, I used to work the Green Room for artists. I then, last year, sold out this very same venue. It's a special space for me. It's nostalgic being here. To see my face painted on the wall downstairs now is like a real full circle moment.
To skip through that.
Yeah, but I thought that there was younger ones than that. No?
I'm actually surprised I outdid him.
Yeah, I mean his little sister is younger, but
is that the only one?
Like
I thought there was 2
at this point. There's a teenage boy and the teenage girl. The twist kind of may be the teenage boy and the teenage girl the oldest of them.
They could be, yeah.
Because they're saying like, father, you're separated. Hopefully this old mill gets you here. So that was probably what the teenage boy was looking for, why he started driving to get to this next safe house, but he didn't make it before sunrise, it sounds like. What was that they said? That there was dust? Dusted salt seemed to rub off, so I feel like salt's normally used to keep away vampires. Why would there be salt down here?
I didn't know if it was something where it's like salting the earth or something, like did they... Because I know what you mean, like it's supposed to be like a protection circle or something.
Yeah.
I think it's, well, one, there could be a couple things. It could be a compromise. Like, did the guy get there and he made us a protection circle?
Yeah.
Or something?
Could
or are they doing something where they're, I don't know, drying out the fucking farm for some reason, or who knows?
Yeah, the soil needs to be wet for some reason. There's also something about the minerals, how there's red and blue mineral veins through the white crystals, and that means something. And they're super dry. She said it was so dry it felt as if it sucked the moisture from my fingertips. So maybe they're salt crystals, and that has some significance. I don't know, but
another good thing was like preservation or something. Like people will pack something with salt. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, could be
preserving meat or something in that farm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, could be that. The farmhouse in question was far from the barn, but I was worried that driving up might bring unwanted attention. I walked through waist-high grass on the untilled soil, dead farmland. This plot of land had been long forgotten. The house itself was in better condition than the farm, but not by much. It had been lived in recently, but how recent I couldn't be sure. It was far from the highway and isolated in a way only rural homes can be. I approached from the side of the home and peered through the dust-covered windows. The decor had a timeless, untethered look, and it was unclear if it had been abandoned for years or if the residents had just had peculiar taste. Regardless, I saw no signs of movement inside. Thought about entering through the window, but caught myself and did the rational thing and knocked on the front door.
And in those situations, normally the guy that's
Miss Makima,
that will find success.
You think I have a heart?
Yes, you do.
Swing and a big miss by Anderson. Well, that nose isn't going to be able to take too many more as he doubles up on the jab there.
I can teach you everything.
Am I fault for this girl?
Just unable to quite find that way.
Bomb is coming.
He continues to do a nice job here defensively, protecting his head, raising the guard, and really frustrating.
Everybody's after my chainsaw heart! What about my heart? Dixie's heart! Does nobody want that?
Just a slip there.
I thought I heard a brief flurry of restrained movement somewhere inside the house. My hand went immediately to the revolver. My voice was not stuck in my throat. I swallowed hard to try to call out, but my nerves wouldn't allow it. Instead, I reached out for the doorknob, and the moment my fingers made contact, the door drifted open. It felt as if I were being invited inside. Okay, so that's...
So he's really starting to put together some significant body shots here. These are going to take their toll as
I won't
this
make
fight
any
goes
weird
on.
predictions yet, but that feels strangely vampiric. I don't know, our author couldn't be. They're aging, they have no knowledge of this, but like, I thought about going through the window. I didn't go through the window. Instead, I decided to... It felt like I was being invited inside. Anyway, my shoes slipped slightly on an old pile of mail stacked up from the music flat. Some were postmarked from as far back as the late 90s. My first instinct about the decor was correct. Thick layers of dust seemed to coat most things in the home, but certain spots had been wiped clean with juice. A path in the hallway rug was worn down from recent footsteps. I followed them to the kitchen. There were dishes in the sink and a box of discontinued cereal on the counter next to an empty jug of milk. The power had long ago been shut off, and the contents of the fridge had rotted past the stage of decay and no longer even smoking. The ashtray on the kitchen table, however, was packed full of fresh pots. A single unsmoked cigarette was left next to a matchbook. One thing became obvious. The meal was not left in the kitchen.
Hello?
I called out, adjusting my grip on the revolver. A metallic rattle and a pained moan came from somewhere in another room. Stepped carefully in the direction of the ghostly noise. I could hear a subtle rhythmic tapping coming from behind the door of the room at the end of the hallway. The distance to that door felt longer than the distance from the house to the door. Long, drawn-out moans seemed to seep out from beneath the cracks in the door. I removed the gun from my jacket pocket, and with my other hand I carefully opened the door. Foolish noise ceased in the moments that the door opened, replaced by the squeak of unused hinges. I stepped back and named. It was just a bathroom. Soft blue and Pepto-pink tiles were not the horror I expected on the other side of the door. The pipes beneath the sink let out another ghostly moan as they groaned from unused and steady drip of a leaky faucet patterned behind the shower curtain. I understand now that it was not the brightest idea, but I had driven for hours and I had no other options, none that would provide the comfort of a seat. So I placed the gun to the sink and sat down. Wait, hold on. She set the gun on the sink, or she's pointing the gun at the sink?
She sat the gun, or she like put the gun on the sink and I think sat on the toilet or something.
Okay. I only had a moment of relief before I saw the silhouette behind the semi-opaque shower curtain. I pushed on the curtain thinking it was just a trick of the light, but my hand made contact with something solid. Before I could stand, the silhouette formed into the figure of a person as it reached out.
All this lagging is
I stood quickly, but a withered white hand covered in blood emerged from the shower. I tripped and grasped for anything to catch myself. I grabbed hold of the only thing standing between myself and the figure, the shower curtain. As I fell back, the curtain tore from the rings and fell on me. Frantically, I crawled backwards out from under the curtain and out of the room, away from the gun. I pulled my pants up and struggled to my feet, realizing that the thing standing in front of me was not pursuing me. Instead, the emaciated figure of a dead man hung suspended above the tub, swaying slightly from my push. The room began to spin as the door of what was in front of me became clear with the sound of every electronic device repeating. It was the meal. I grabbed the gun, and before I knew it, I was already outside. I considered my options. I thought about burning it down. There's a guy hanging up in there. You guys are gonna burn it down. I thought about burning it down, but that would only bring attention. I knew nothing about fingerprints and fire and evidence. The safest option was to do nothing. Oh my gosh. You can call 911 and just drive away. You don't have to be there when the police show up. This house had remained hidden for so long. Why wouldn't it stay that way? Just to be safe, though, I took the shower curtain and wiped down any surface I remember touching. I locked the door from the inside and closed it. What? There's a guy bleeding to death in the shower upstairs.
Old girl's an accomplice.
She is now complicit in the death of this man.
Oh, yes.
After a conversation where it's like, I don't know. What do you mean? I haven't seen him. What are you talking about? The walk back to the barn was long and arduous. I replayed the images in my mind over and over and thought back to the bathtub I had cleaned so many times before. If there were any doubt in my mind before, it had been erased. The family that I had known my whole life were no longer human.
What can viewers expect from season 2?
I need a crash card!
It's big drama.
Relationships.
They truly were creatures of the night, preyed on the weak, drank their blood.
Oh,
Should
you're
have been
ballsy.
obvious. Maybe
Love
it was. Maybe my parents knew all along. They had to. But me, I'd only coalesced in my mind after seeing the body. It became clear as day. Every 4 years, for a week at a time, I had been in the presence of an unearthly evil. They were inhuman, unnatural, and otherworldly. They were vampires.
Coming up next,
We were just one stop on their tour of death. They must have other places like ours, just close enough to make it in a night drive. My aunt lived only a few hours east of us. My memories of visiting her came flooding back. It now made sense that every time I stepped into the guest house beneath her home, the cellar door would smell of smoke, stale breath, iron, and every once in a while, soft lavender. It seems now that my aunt did what my parents couldn't. That is probably why they left her that last letter. They knew that she would be capable of doing what they never could. They had made the deal and tolerated slaughter under their roof. Part of me understood why. Even if they wanted to burn it all down, she was still their little girl, but she needed a safe place. As I stood in front of the burn pit out back behind the motel, I watched the plastic shower curtain. She's now just a part of the burn. You could have helped that guy! As I stood in front of the burn pit out back behind the motel, I watched the plastic shower curtain curl and melt in the flames. A flicker of light off glass caught my eye just outside the center of the fire. I used a stick to dig it out. Glasses. They bring glasses. He was never coming back. Bill Henry. The man... Wait. The guy in the shower curtain was Bill? Yeah. Or the guy in the shower. So not only are you killing an innocent man, it was a guy who knew about the vampires and you could have helped? He was never coming back. Bill Henley, the man who was going to purchase my motel, was not coming back. Like it or not, this motel was still mine. And as far as I knew, I still had 4 years to figure out what to do with it.
So is every one of these posts, is it 4 years in between each post?
No, because the first one ends with them showing up again, right?
That's what what I thought, but I'm like, if they're showing up again, that would have been, okay, so this is the first 4, it's like, oh, so it's been 4 years, this is the first time they've been there. And now this is just the days preceding after, like, they stayed there, they left, and this is just, like, the kind of interactions that are happening within the couple of days after they left.
No, because part 4, the next part, opens with right after she burnt the stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, it may
so I guess what I'm saying is, I guess what I'm saying is, it has, like, since we've known the character be an adult, the people have died. The first time that she's there, it had been the 4 years, whatever. But there has been no other, it's not like the passage of time between these parts has not been over 4 years since the character's become an adult.
Oh, and she connects there.
It's been not yet.
Okay. What's next?
Yeah.
What is she going to use to follow it
They've
up?
been pretty back-to-back otherwise.
Alright, part 4.
Part 4. Over the next few days, I was little more than a ghost haunting the motel grounds. I drifted from room to room trying to cobble together a purpose. I quickly realized that I was bound to this property, and whether it was an ancient family curse or a legal contract, I was supposed to stay here and maintain the property. I felt obligated to protect my sister, even if she barely resembled the little girl I remembered. My mother, for all her faults, had done what she could to protect her daughter. Working over the events in my mind and recounting the visits of the family, I had come to the conclusion that my parents had made a deal to save my sister. I remember her illness. I remember her withering away before my eyes. She was going to die, it was a fact, but somehow she didn't. She continued living as an eternal child, first to walk an ever-evolving earth as she herself was frozen in prepubescence. They had changed her, and I was determined to figure out how. I looked for clues in my father's old lockbox, but found little more than unfamiliar photos and documents that no longer had any relevance. One thing that stood out, though, was an early memento that my grandfather had kept. It was the first brochure for the cave system. If not for the scribbled red circle on the map, it may have been worth something. I spent an entire day... Okay, I'm sure they're going to come back to the cave map, but it's funny to be like, amidst everything, I found a map of a cave with the X marks the spot on it. I decided that probably was useless, so I kept looking for other.
There's a giant X on there's a giant X with a crossbone and a giant ship. It's like just basically just doing the Goonies. It's like, yep. Nine 12-year-olds just ran by with their disfigured 6-foot-tall friend. I'm sure that's totally normal.
I'm sure that's fine. What's this? There's a note on the back that says, this circle will lead to the secrets to stopping the vampires.
Yeah.
That probably means nothing. He probably was just saying that. Unrelated.
On the door to the front of the business, there's a poster that read, Goonies never die.
And then, what's this on the other side of the brochure? You may encounter the Goonies, but more importantly, this is the secret to stopping the vampires and saving your sister. I don't like that. I'm gonna do something else now.
I'm gonna go.
Let's do other things.
I'm gonna go clean blood instead.
Maybe if I look at these heaps long enough, that'll give me a clue. I spent an entire day sifting through the dirt in the space below their room. Oh my, I was right. Literally, I'm gonna go look at the heaps of dirt and I'll figure that out. The soft earth that filled their mounds was starting to change. With the exception of what I assumed was the teenage boys, the dark earth and mounds were starting to dry and crumble.
All right, so she's able to work her way back to her feet now. Well, she has certainly picked up the pace here in round 2 and starting to find herself in the pocket a little bit. She was a little bit hesitant in round 1. No hesitancy whatsoever here in round 2. She has clearly found her rhythm. And just like that, the fight is over.
What if I say no?
Both fighters in this.
It's time to show you who I am. Rated R. Only in theaters Friday.
Web developers, stop wasting your time deciphering browser versions. There's a better way to see if a web platform feature is supported by your users. With Baseline, the widely available stamp of approval means that a feature has been settled in all the major web browsers for at least 30 months. And for most developers, if it's widely available, you can use it. But if your users happen to be on much older...
The boy spot was still dark with a fresh dampness about it, though it grew more dry and brittle with every passing day. Salty crystalline rocks placed near each mound seemed to draw out whatever moisture was in the dirt, drying it into a dead, useless dust. The crystals themselves were not unique, nor rare by any means. They were the same ones that lined the ceiling and floors in the deepest chambers of the caverns. I remembered them from my childhood visits. I felt a strange longing to return there. I needed to uncover its secrets. Yeah, kind of like how your grandfather left the map of the cave with a circle.
But not that. Not the pirate ship or the treasure map.
I don't like that. I don't like that secret. I'm going to find other ones. I don't want to be there.
UFC Women's Strawweight Division.
Well, we got to remember this is a woman that is now complicit in the murder of Bill. Just left him.
Bill was going to die anyways. She made the good call.
She saw him behind the curtain and was like, I don't like this. I don't like you. And I don't like that. I need to do something about this. So, bye-bye. Give me the shower curtain to wipe my prints away.
Bill.
You're dead. You're dead. I decided you're dead, Bill. Goodbye, Bill. I don't like this. I don't like that I need to do this. I needed to uncover its secrets. While they had been closed for almost a year now, there was still a park ranger named Graham who remained on the premises. He would sometimes stop by for some of our old free lobby coffee, always open. He joked that we were the only coffee shop in town, which was partially true. I hadn't seen him in a few months, but his truck would pass regularly as he would survey the outlying grounds. I could tell he was bored, and I thought that I could manipulate that into an eagerness to help him. I called ahead, but the line went straight through to an automated recorder, an apology to potential visitors about the indefinite closure. With little else to do, I made some coffee and filled a thermos for him. I drove down to the closed lot, parked just outside the locked fence. I could see his truck parked inside, so I knew he was there. He saw me arriving on the security team, though he was already greeting me with a wave as I crossed the closed parking lot.
Afternoon, Graham. What brings you down here? Research? When was the last time you made it here? Years. My folks were still around. There's a lot to see. The remodel finished right before the shutdown. I've been dying to show somebody around, so I'm glad you're here.
I gave him the coffee and his eyes went wide. He stopped coming by after I closed up shop, so I could tell he was grateful to have one last cup. We walked into the dimly lit lobby, potent with the smell of new carpet and fresh paint.
Wait here while I go turn everything on,
he said, clearly excited. I stood in the darkness for almost a minute before the lights came on with a quiet hum of electric light. The lobby was filled with media displays of the cavern's history. There were photos and stories of opening day with updates for each anniversary. As I waited for Graham to return, I studied the older photos behind the glass case nearest to me. Suddenly, the hairs on my neck stood straight. I swore I could feel someone watching me. It was only then that I noticed his gaze staring back from one particularly old photograph. In it, a familiar figure stood at the center of a group of visitors looking back at me. It was the old man.
And that's what I'm going to do from now on. When people
it was as if he were somehow staring at me through the photo. His eyes locked on the lens of the camera and then turned on me. It was hard to discern his age in that old faded photo, but he looked very much the same as he did today. The only difference was that instead of his usual gray suit, he was wearing a park ranger uniform.
Ah, you've met Jerry? Jerry? I mean, we don't actually know his name, but we all call him Jerry. He was one of the first rangers to work at the park. Him and his colleagues were responsible for a lot of the early mapping of the cave system. This photo and a bunch of other stuff was found locked in an old utility closet. Didn't even know it existed because that particular cave was closed off. Check it out.
He said, leading me over to the illustrated map covering the entire wall. He pointed to a blank spot on the map.
Found it right there, actually.
I brought my grandfather's old brochure, so I pulled it out to compare to the current map. The blank tunnel he was pointing to still existed on my grandfather's map.
Yeah, they left out a few of the trickier spots on the new maps. They didn't want to entice explorers into places they maybe couldn't have made it out of. May not get out of? Yeah. Steep inclines, drop-offs, or just plain tight squeezes. They left those spots off, and the map you see today is just the safest, what we call vanilla trails.
I can't
showed
believe
him
I
the
gotta
red
do this
circle at
again.
the end of the pathway that they decided to omit in the modern map.
Any idea why that's circled? Looks like the gulch, or at least whatever's past it. What's past it? What is the gulch? Not much to tell. It's one of the steepest descents and is almost impassable without gear or a ladder, which is a shame, really. I hear it's the most beautiful places in the system. It's got a unique vein stalagmites. Like this?
I said, pulling the crystalline rock from my pocket.
You're showing me a federal offense. I hope you know that. What? You are literally showing me plundered goods. Where'd you even get it? My grandfather's collection. They were a little more willy-nilly with the rules back then. Everybody was taking tokens and souvenirs. And before the Tucker boy, they kind of let people just roam around.
He said, pointing at a photo of a well-dressed folks climbing a dangerous rock formation.
What happened to the Tucker boy? No clue. How's the problem? They looked for him for a few weeks. He was visiting with his wife and son and went missing. Right around the gulch, actually, which is why it's not on the map.
He said with another educational chuckle.
I thought you said he was a boy. 18. He was married with a son. Times were different back then.
Graham walked over to another glass case away from the main display.
They've talked about taking this down for renovation. I mean, it is a little dark.
He said, pointing at a display of old missing persons photos spanning the decades of the park's operations.
I had no idea. That's him right there, Mr. Tucker himself.
He said, pointing at a class photo of a face I knew all too well. A teenage boy from the family stared back, younger and happy. Yeah, so teenage boy becomes the first vampire. He had a young kid. He goes back and finds his son years later after his son's now older than he was when he went missing, turns him into a vampire. So the man in the family's father is physically younger than himself.
Yeah, that's right.
I was transfixed. Yeah, I believe that's right, ma'am. Yes, I do believe that's where the vampiric abominations come from the gulch itself. But whatever your grandfather circled on that map, I don't like it. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't go over there.
Goonies never die.
Once again, a little confused why the Goonies keep coming up in my grandfather's treasure map references, but I don't like it anyway, so I'm not.
We should find a pirate boat.
Once again, I think this is a story about vampires. I don't think that really applies to what we're doing here, but I don't like it. I was transfixed. Graham was already moving on.
Listen, I got nothing on the docket today, so if you want, I can take you close to the gulch. I just gotta get some lights.
Said already on his way to get the background. As I waited for his return, I made my way to the elevators that would bring us down into the caverns. The gift shop was located just across from them, so it would be the first thing visitors would see when they resurfaced. Cheesy t-shirts, postcards, and other junk crammed into the small space. The entire shop seemed to be designed to frame a bookshelf filled entirely with copies of a history book about the caverns. Curious, I opened the book and flipped through the first few pages. It was as if the old man were haunting me through time itself. Again, his blank stare caught my eyes immediately. Looking out from the full-page photograph of the staff photo inside the largest chamber of the caverns. It was labeled as October 23rd, 1924, 1 year after opening day. Even in his friendly park ranger uniform, his presence was so chilling that I almost missed her. The Park Service began with Teddy Roosevelt, right?
I believe so.
Which was, yeah, it would have been around. That's the right time period. Yeah, 20s. Not late 1910s, 20s. Yeah, that's correct. And also the 20s were when, like, everyone got cave fever. People would find caves on their property and charge money to go into it, and, like, people would just die. They would just get stuck in there somewhere. And be like, well, we probably shouldn't do that again. Holding the hand of the old man was a teenage girl. She looked very much the same, but thinner, more gaunt. My attention was suddenly stolen by the cluttered clank of Graham approaching with his gear.
Did he have a daughter?
I asked, pointing at the photo of the old man. Graham leaned over to give a half-involved glance.
Like I said, we don't know his real name.
He then walked over and hit the button for the elevator. His excitement was doing nothing to soften my growing anxiety over the photographs. The ride down took longer than I remembered, and my ears popped from the pressure change as we descended deep underground. As soon as the elevator doors opened into the first chamber, Graham disappeared into the darkness.
Wait here.
You never see Graham again. Just the voice. Well, I guess I don't like that, so I'm gonna leave now. No, it would be in her character for Graham to come back bloodied, like, please, help! And she's like, no, I'm gonna go up now. I don't like this. I followed, but stopped right outside the elevator. The dim emergency lights casting haunting shadows across the cavern walls. There was just enough light for Graham to navigate without his flashlight. I could hear nothing but his footsteps in the muffled silence of the stale cavern air. When he reached his destination, his footsteps ceased and the silence settled in. To my right, I heard a distant fluttering, what I thought was a faint screech. Loud mechanical click signaled the lights turning on and filling even the deepest corners of the cavern with comforting light. Graham returned, and with a wave, he ushered me to follow him.
Alright, let's start this private tour.
He said, heading right in the direction of the eerie sounds I just heard.
There's no creaky plumbing down here, is there?
I asked, remembering the sink in the old house.
Nope. All creaky sounds are natural cave occurrences.
You joke, I hope. I followed him anyway. This isn't creaky plumbing, right? Because I heard that in the house before I left a guy to die. And it turns out it wasn't even the creak, it was just him moaning.
I have to go back and clean blood.
Yeah, if you die, can you not let me hear it? Thank you.
If you die, don't worry, I'll clean up your blood.
I wouldn't like that. I'll clean up. I won't be here when it happens or try to help, but I'll clean up the blood. The walk through the main chambers and less traveled paths was long and filled mostly with small talk. Graham lamented on the fact that reopening wasn't guaranteed, despite the money they spent on the remodel. He truly loved the caverns and couldn't see himself doing anything else.
People die for this gig. It's the cream de la creme of the Park Service post. I realize how lucky I am. I do have it.
He said with a tinge of real sadness. It became obvious that we were reaching the end of the modern map because the lights started to stagger more with longer distance between each light. Fixtures themselves were older than the rest, and some were entirely out, creating breaks of darkness in the already dim cavern. Each time we reached an old iron gate, he would search a massive key ring for the one out of the dozen keys that would open it. Eventually, the lights no longer lit our way, and he switched on the lamps and handed me a helmet.
Probably should have given you this earlier, but these low ceilings make it a necessity now.
I remember it reminds me of that scene in Ted the Caver.
All right, so we now look back at some of the actions from that previous round, DC. A lot of good
where he
highlights
just slams his head on the roof and
horrible. That sucks so bad.
Yeah. Every time I think about low-hanging sillies, I think about that scene. The description of like I feel like the pain through my body and the light goes out and I'm crawling and everything hurts.
And you think about a dog just being dragged into a cage with a demon in it.
You know, I made myself jump for a second because the way I have the camera angled, my deer skull is behind me, and the night vision's posed in such a way that it reflects the lights from the camera, which is a cool effect, but when I looked at my camera for a half second, it looked like it was standing behind me. Didn't like that. Is that your impression of me screaming, me being afraid?
Oh God! That's what I do.
I followed behind in a half crouch as he pointed out interesting geological sites that had been hidden from the public for decades. I noticed that some of the cave walls were starting to display the same dark red and blue mineral veins as the crystals I'd collected from their chamber.
What's that?
Pointing to the rune carvings I recognized from the room below the motel.
No idea what it says. Old-timey graffiti, I guess.
He's the park guy, but he's like, I don't know, something that the Mayans made up. I don't know. Look at this stalactite. As the ceilings and walls seemed to close in around us with each step, warm air seemed thicker as well. I felt as though it was getting difficult to breathe and my back was stretching to ache from the unnatural posture. Graham must have sensed my discomfort.
It opens up a little bit further ahead. We're almost there.
He was right, and as soon as we reached the next chamber, the air seemed to grow colder as well. The floor that had until now been paved with a gripping cement had given way to the cavern's natural floor, a slippery surface that felt very much like sandstone.
I present the GOAT,
he said while grabbing hold of my jacket to prevent me from passing him. He switched on a very bright lantern and lit up the enormous room. My breath left my lungs as I noticed why he had grabbed a hold of me. The steep drop-off was only a few feet ahead, and it was more of a cliff than an incline. It dropped down maybe 20 or 30 feet into a lower tunnel that led into further darkness.
How do we get down? We don't. Tour stops here. If we so much as sprain an ankle, we're pretty much done for. No cell service, nobody knows we're here, nobody will come looking for weeks. That level of irresponsibility would cost me my job.
But his adherence to the rules went out the door when he heard the haunting sound. A faint cry echoed out from the darkness past the gulch.
Do bats make it down this far?
I watched his mind wrestle with the possibilities as he shook his head slowly.
Then what was that?
He turned to me, his eyes wide and afraid. He shook his head again. As my own voice echoed down the cavernous path ahead, the sound ceased as if hearing me. In those brief moments of silence, when we still shared a doubt that we had heard anything at all, I could feel him pull my jacket to lead me back out. But then we heard it. Asked a voice from the distant darkness. It sounded like an echo without a voice to reflect. I could feel Graham's body tense and stiffen with the acceptance that what we heard was very real, not from our own imaginations. I don't think that's the...
What have you brought me?
His nose for R2 down here.
That's kind of the vibe, right? The old man?
Okay.
I don't think it's the old man.
I thought
you brought me.
If it's the old man, you know what? Have fun with it. Why not?
What have you brought me in my chamber of slumber?
No, now you're ad-libbing. That's not the work of the yes. Yes, that's not in the story.
These guys are ready to score takedowns if need be, but given this matchup on paper, we're expecting really a glorified kickboxing match here under mixed martial arts.
They can head to the popcorn booth right now because we don't need them. This is going to be all straight.
You can Venmo this, or you can Venmo that. You can Venmo this, or you can Venmo that. You can Venmo this, this is where it's at. Hey!
Now you can Venmo everything.
Okay.
Get the Venmo debit card, get up to 15% cash back.
Oh, big punch land.
This is a cluster of thousands of the newest NVIDIA B200 GPUs housed in Supermicro servers. Now we get to show you around this high-end Lambda AI cluster worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It is certainly time for another AI cluster tour. Today, we're going to do something fun, touring the Lambda AI cluster in Columbus, Ohio, housed by Logix. This is one of the first NVIDIA B200 clusters that you can get access to. And the cool thing is that you can start a cluster with just one click, ranging from 16 GPUs to over 1,500 GPUs. What's more, there is a vast and Supermicro powered storage array that reaches into the tens of petabytes to store a vast amount of data for Lambda's AI customers. I just want to say thank you to the folks that are sponsoring and supporting this video, including Supermicro, NVIDIA, Lambda, and Logix. We couldn't do a video like this without all their support, so thank you so much. Let's get
It called out, vulnerable and afraid.
Nobody should be down there. How did you get down there?
Graham asked as if he wanted an answer for himself and not the ghostly voice below. There was a moment where neither spoke. It was as if both of them were working on what to say next. Wow, what a change.
Well, look, read it.
Change it to. It said the voice now small and almost childlike, more vulnerable than before, but it's the same voice. Whatever.
I'm a park ranger. I can help you.
He said, and I realized that it was now me holding on to his jacket, trying to hold him back.
Stay where you are!
He called out to the childlike voice in the darkness. He turned to me with a look of defeat or unwanted heroism.
We have to help.
Do we?
If there's one thing I know about her, she does not want to. She does not want to.
Just let him die. It's not a big deal. We'll cleanse the blood later.
Someone's down there? I don't like that. I don't like that they're down there. Let's go somewhere else. Now, she should be like, to save Graham, she should be like, hey, so I should have told you this earlier. There's vampires. They're very real, and I think they're in this cave. I asked as he moved past me to an old metal utility trunk just to the right of the room. As he struggled to find the key that opened the trunk, I peered into the darkness looking for any sign of movement. For a moment, I thought I saw a small, pale form move just beyond the edge of the shadows, but my attention was soon taken by the metal groan of the trunk opening. Graham pulled out a rope ladder that attached to the side of the already secured trunk and dropped it below. The ladder unraveled along the steep incline all the way to the floor.
But if you know her, if you spend any time with her, you understand.
The childlike voice said, slowly losing all emotion. The urgency replaced with a calm sense of command. I followed after Graham as he descended. Why? I followed after Graham as he descended down the ladder. As my hands grazed the coarse, granular texture of the cavern wall, it felt as if the moisture was drawn from my skin. With each labored step down, the cold air stung my lungs. By the time I reached the bottom, Graham was already halfway across the gulch with the lantern held high. Somehow, the light seemed to still stop at the edge of the shadowy darkness ahead.
How did you get down here?
He asked, walking slowly towards the darkness ahead.
Unable to string any solid combinations.
I just don't believe she's confident in being in there.
Said the voice, its childlike essence giving way to a frightening growl. At the edge of the darkness, Graham stopped to adjust the lamp, doing everything he could to cast more light towards the unseen voice. With his attention on the lamp, Graham didn't even see it coming. He had no time to react. A pale white figure emerged from the darkness and skittered across the cavern floor. It grabbed Graham by the ankles and pulled him to the ground. The lantern shattered on impact. I stood there frozen at the bottom of the ladder, my own light only casting a few feet in front of me. Graham? He responded in a gurgled, gasping moan. You want to try a gurgled, gasping moan? Maybe that's not.
So she's doing what any star fighter would do, knee after knee after knee.
That was good. I like that.
People and businesses alike are using ever-increasing amounts of data, but today's tech revolution is moving far faster than the infrastructure it runs on. Companies and governments are looking for partners to help meet the rising demand for new and upgraded infrastructure around the world. What does that mean for investors? From data centers and water management systems to airports and power plants, there's an increasing demand around the world for new and improved infrastructure. But it's not just about laying new foundations for energy, power, and support these technologies. Amid geopolitical uncertainty, many countries are emphasizing the need for energy security. And turbulent times have led to changing supply chains, with companies bringing operations closer to their consumers. While governments have historically paid for building and maintaining infrastructure, increasing debt loads means it's unlikely that today's governments can actually pay for all this infrastructure on their own. That's where private investors can help bridge the funding. At the same time, companies are also bringing in private...
So I climbed.
It's One-Eyed Willie! and then even further down the cavern, you just hear, Goonies never die! And then you hear fucking Sloth doing,
well, you see the raw emotions and the happiness.
I climb faster than I thought she was like Ruth? Baby Ruth?
Holy fuck. There is a mutated man with a Superman jacket down here. Like, totally get me the fuck out of this cave.
Goonies never die!
I like how you're so committed to the bit.
It's kind of fucking horrifying if you think about it.
They just
bunch of 12-year-olds down there.
Show up down in the cave.
I bet the pirate ship's this way.
Seriously, get me the fuck out of here.
Why would Dracula be scared by them?
Because it's the fucking Goonies, and they have Sloth, a 7-foot-tall disabled man who's just like, Sloth likes to eat rocks! And he's just like eating the walls around him.
They're totally closing in on me. Please help me.
Ruth? Baby Ruth? Yeah, then imagine Nosferatu sitting there and like he like turns around. He's like,
I'm totally hiding right now. I cannot let the Goonies find me.
He turns around and there's Chunk, and he's like has his shirt up and he just starts doing a truffle shuffle. Oh my God! Help me! Belly's all moving and stuff. What is this magic? It's the truffle shuffle! Goonies never die!
Okay. I climbed faster than I thought possible. I climbed faster than I thought possible, skipping rungs with each aching pull as my muscles worked on instinct and adrenaline. I could hear the cold, wet patter of naked flesh hitting the cavern floor as the figure raced towards me. When I reached the top of the ladder, I glanced back to see the figure pulling itself across the floor with an unnatural speed. As I turned to pull the ladder up, my light passed just far enough to reach the bottom of the gulch. A withered, claw-like hand covered in bright red blood reached out and grabbed the bottom rung. It pulled with inhuman strength. I braced myself and pulled back. I could hear its other hand clawing at the sandpaper-like surface of the cavern wall, struggling to gain footing. I looked to my right, into the open utility truck. Sitting atop a coil of rope and other gear was a silver-coated pickaxe. As I felt myself teetering on the edge and falling, I let go of the rope, grabbed the pickaxe, and in one fluid motion I swung hard, severing one side of the rope ladder. But still, it climbed. The shriveled torso of a ghost-white child covered in Graham's blood. It looked up from below with soulless black eyes. There was no fear, only hunger. From its waist hung long strips of withered flesh and mangled bone, what I assume were once its legs. The creature made it halfway up the ladder before I swung again, fraying the remaining side of the rope. The creature did not slow, undeterred by my pickaxe. My mind raced as I considered my next swing, the rope or the creature. I wasn't sure if the next blow would cut the rope, but I was even less sure that I could kill whatever it was that was climbing. I swung. Rope snapped and the ladder fell below. The creature slid back down the incline, hitting the bottom with a sickening wet thud. I I waited with bated breath as I listened for movement. I called out hopelessly into the darkness.
Graham? Just over 20 total strikes and now landed for Valentina.
I swallowed hard and held my lantern over the edge. As the shadows crept back, they revealed the creature below. I expected a crumbled, broken mess from the fall, but instead, there it was, staring up at me, unfazed. Though its resemblance to a human was slight, I could see aspects of the family in its emotionless stare and pale, waxy skin beneath wet red blood. The naked figure was child-sized, but its limbs and features were distorted, odd and long. Its bulbous, veiny head held two bulging black eyes with thin lips that barely restrained sharp, jagged teeth. It looked as though it may have been human at one time.
Striking game tonight. She is staying busy in a nice series of punches again there.
Great flow state. The hands are flowing, the head movement's going. She's doing a fantastic job.
What if I say no? I love it. That one out as she blocked the
Only in theaters Friday.
And they separate.
Duncan Daydream Hotline, what can I do for you today? What you're describing is a strawberry daydream refresher. Sabrina's Daydream Refreshers. Available in strawberry, mixed berry, and mango.
But its form now was nothing more than a legless, emaciated pool of dry, withered skin. Its few remaining strands of hair were matted down with wet blood.
Why are you down here?
All right, now we take a look back at some of the action in that previous round.
Shark-like eyes locked on mine.
I mean, both were intent on going forward. And what happens when nobody wants to take a step back? They beat in the middle. That's exactly what they did, and they both found success over the course of that round.
How?
Round 2 underway. Well, she's had a lot of moments in the fight. You know, her one is very good, but you're not even getting a 1-2.
Said, digging its claws into a patch of loose gravity sand. My fingers tightened around the pickaxe.
What's stopping you from killing me once I help you?
She continues to circle towards the left. Nice liver shot.
What about Graham? Can you bring him back?
Big knee to the body. Trying to get the knees going. We got to fight, folks.
Fantastic
your
fight
children.
by both of these women.
Why are you here?
High level striking, great cardio, great fight.
There she goes using her jab effectively yet again. Her opponent's got to raise that guard. You see it now. Her opponent maybe seeing stars on this one.
Her opponent's seeing stars. Her opponent's hurt. She has to really get after her now to try to find that kill shot that's going to finish tonight.
Well, that is a really significant punch she's dealing with, but a nice job to raise the guard and block that strike attempt.
Very, very strong defensive skills, recognizing where she's in trouble and making sure she doesn't take any more damage to that cut eye. Great job.
I looked down at the silver axe in my hands. I thought back to the silver-tipped bullets in my grandfather's box. He must have known. The pickaxe was here for a reason, coated in shimmering silver. I knew what I had to do. Tied off the coiled rope in the box and dropped it down. The creature quickly grabbed hold and pulled itself up, one clawed hand over the other, climbed as its mangled lower half dangled below. Step back and readied myself. As the creature crested the incline and pulled itself onto my level, I raised the pickaxe high over my head. Quickly, I brought it down on the creature's skull with a sickening crunch. I let go and the blood-covered pool fell forward onto the ground in front of me. Slowly, turned its head, and the black, expressionless eyes locked on mine.
Strikes have landed for Valentina Shevchenko. And the accuracy rate 36% for against Valentina Shevchenko.
It smiled, bearing its rows of sharp teeth.
Punch over the top.
As it wrapped its sickeningly long fingers around the handle of the axe, I reached into my pocket. I pulled at the handle, trying to free the pickaxe from its head, too confused on what was in my hand. I lurched forward with the only weapon I had left, sharp crystalline rock. But the creature was fast and spiked at my feet with an incredible quickness, just as it did with Graham. I fell backwards hard and hit my head on the rocks, but the helmet saved me from an almost certain concussion, or worse. I was still woozy when the creature climbed on top of me, the pickaxe still embedded in its skull. With one arm I fought it back, holding it by the neck. With the other I grabbed the crystalline rock. With its face only inches from mine, I closed my eyes and plunged it into the creature's chest. Almost immediately, the skin around the puncture withered and cracked as the rock leached the life from the creature. I pushed it off me and crawled backwards. The creature's blank stare gave way to true horror as it looked down at the fatal piercing blow. Confused, its hands weakly clawed at the embedded stone. I stood up and removed the axe from its skull. Again, I raised it high and then brought it down hard. This time, the skull collapsed beneath the blow. Its flesh crumbled into decay until nothing but dust and blood set before me, soaking into a sludgy mess. So stabbing it with the crystal is like the kill shot, it seems. Also, all the stuff that the vampire was saying. So the family abandoned them. He seems to be the original. That led to them, and then.
Well, I was just saying, which is why the girl's also like, they're gonna put me in the cave. Which, if that's the case, I think the fucking creature would kill him.
I actually use Grammarly all the time to help me write emails to my team. They have pro features too, like sidebars. This allows me to highlight a section of my writing and review several options for how to improve it. This can make my long, blabbering email to my editors come in much more succinctly. I also love the setting goals feature that allows me to tell Grammarly who I'm speaking to and what kind of tone I'm aiming for. These tools improve my efficiency, but also maintain my voice. Grammarly works where you work with integrations in over 500,000 apps and websites, allowing you to stay in the flow. Sign up and upgrade to Grammarly Pro to level up your productivity.
Shop your new mattress your way at Ashford. Browse our wide selection online from the comfort of your home, or come in and see what feels good at one of our conveniently located stores. Shop Ashley in-store or online today.
Yeah, probably. They're gonna put me back in the cave where the whole family came from, where they started from. Also, I didn't think about it till just now, but the whole vampire thing reminded me. So when the teenage boy who's actually the father, showed up at the house after she said that she was going to sell the hotel, I guess the only reason he didn't kill her instead of Bill or whatever was because she ate the garlic, right? That had to be why that detail came out.
I'm guessing so.
Because otherwise it would have just killed and ate her that night.
I think so,
yeah. Useless to them now. Yeah. Confident that I had ended this ancient evil, I pushed curdled blood and mudded flesh into the gulch below. Willing to take the creature's word that Graham was gone. Wow, this is big character development for her.
No shit.
Just checking to see if the guy's alive. As I stepped into the darkness, the ground squished beneath me. I directed the light to my feet and the massive amounts of blood that surrounded them. I found Graham only a few feet into the darkness. His body was cold. I could have sworn I still felt a pulse. Blood oozed from large gashes in his throat, stomach, and arms. Still, I had to try. He was heavy, but I managed to drag him all the way back to the rope. It was only then that I had the realization that there was no way I could get him out, not on my own. By the time I could find help, he would surely be dead. And if he were dead, I would have to explain why she's about to leave him again.
Oh, yeah.
I swear I can feel a pulse. Well, that'll take effort, so I don't like that I need to do something, so bye. Have fun, Graham. The creature that inflicted his wounds was nothing more than blood-soaked dust, which made for a poor explanation. They would ask how I found him, what happened, and how he could have lost so much blood without a jagged rock inside. I stood there watching his blood slowly ooze